This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, my name is Trace James and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are, well, off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, I have three guests, Alix Cook, Jessica Lutzer, and Tim McLennan, who are here to talk about the 3-year epic that really only takes 13 months, Lord of the Rings. Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
I love that you said that it really only takes 13 months, because that was like one of my most recent notes.
Was it?
Yeah. So like they're getting home to the Shire, and it's just like, and so we return to the Shire 13 months after Gandalf set us out on our adventure.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, really? I
thought it was not just because of the length of the movies, but because of the stuff that happens and they're walking everywhere. I was like, no, that has to take much longer than that. Like it's got to be more than that. Come on, really?
Yeah. Well, in the movies, it's so funny because Alex were talking last night that between Bilbo's birthday and Gandalf coming back, it was 17 or 16 years in the books. And so there's no mention of that. It's just like, Gandalf went away for the weekend and he's back, and you have to go on this massive adventure. And it's like, wait, Frodo's now in his 50s, and it's
interesting.
Yeah. Nobody looks any older.
No.
Elijah Wood is adorable. I have a weird soft spot for Elijah Wood, so as soon as he's on screen, I'm like, oh.
I loved him in The Faculty.
He was great in The Faculty.
Also, he still hasn't aged. Yeah, he still hasn't aged.
He's like, the weird thing is because he's got these like excessively sized features on his face, especially his eyes, that look like a doll. So when he was young, it was very cute. But now that he's older, he's getting creepier and creepier looking, but not in an uncomfortable way, but more than a like, what's up with that? Like that kind of thing. Because I watched him in what's the last movie you saw? Come to Daddy, which is just a fucking roller coaster of a movie.
Oh yeah.
And but he's like this like modern hipster, and he's got like stubble and this weird mustache, and it's just so weird to look at, but also at the same time you're just like, oh, it's Elijah. It's great.
He sort of looks like a normal adult now, and it's weird.
Yes.
Like he no longer looks like a weird otherworldly creature because he's not like 20 anymore. So
yeah, now he's like, it took him 40 years to look like an adult. Yeah, it's fine.
Pretty much.
Yeah. He's aging well, at least.
Yeah.
I also want to say, on Lord of the Rings alone, I have officially spent 31 hours and 59 minutes on this trilogy, and I'm upset about it. I don't want to do it again. And
wait. Did you watch the standard edition as well as the extended edition?
Yeah,
as well as the standard version on DVD, as well as the standard version on Blu-ray?
So no. Okay. So I am talking about originally. I saw these movies, each one in the movie theater, the standard edition, right? And then I was talked into getting the extended editions on DVD. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it because this has been around for a long time. People love it. And I'm trying to understand this love. Okay. And maybe, sometimes the director's cuts, they just put in that little extra and you're just like, I get it now, And then I watched the extended editions. Waste of my goddamn time. And then I put it on a shelf. And then I started a stupid fucking podcast, and now I had to watch it again for another 11 hours and 21 minutes, and I am livid. Thank you very much. That's it.
Well, I don't think you're going to find any sympathy here. As a person who owns 2 sets of the extended edition on on DVD.
Plus, we watched it last summer, and we did all the Hobbit movies as well. So it's like we were like, oh, we should. Do we need to watch it again? But we're going to because we enjoy them.
Yes. Also, we just rewatched them, and neither of us can remember a single name of any person or place they encounter. So, like, sorry in advance about that. They just keep. I used to know it cold, and then now I'm just like, the guy with the hair.
Yes.
Yes.
I admire your dedication to the podcast.
Thank you for admiring it. I said I would do it, so I did it. And to be honest, I was really hoping, I'm like, no, it's been almost 20 years since I've watched these. Maybe I'll like them more. I'll be like, you know what? These actually aren't that bad.
I can't. It's been 20 years.
I'm so sad that you said that.
Thanks, Tracy. You made me feel
now I have to confront that again.
I was a full-formed adult already when these movies came out, and that was 20 years ago. And it hurts my heart.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I love that we're all just
like them.
Yeah, look, I must admit, I watched Fellowship of the Ring, and I was like, actually, that wasn't too bad. And then
some good points. Like it hits good. Fellowship hits good story beats.
Yes. Yeah, and like there's a good movement in the story. Like there's a purpose, there's an urgency, something's happening.
Yeah.
And then I started watching Two Towers, and I was like, oh, this is where it goes. Oh, okay. Okay.
That's my favorite.
That's my favorite. So I was like you, Trey. Like my original, it went for me literally like 1, 2, and 3 were my favorites. And then this like last 2 watches, I was like, actually, I think I like the second one just a bit better than the first one. And I have a love-hate relationship with the third one because it goes on forever. But
the third one is like 3 movies. Like, to be fair.
Yeah.
I've always loved the second one the most. But
so that's interesting. The second book in my mind was always the worst because nothing happened.
That's true.
I'm nodding. I'm doing a lot of nodding. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything that happens in the second part is like, if you're watching it visually, it's incredible. If you're reading about it, maybe less. Right? Like, not that Tolkien doesn't, do a good job with battle scenes and all that, but like, it's never going to be as impressive as actually watching it happen.
That's
Whereas,
true.
There's more plot and character development in the others that translates better on the page.
Yeah, there's also in my memory, granted it has been like probably 30 years, maybe not that, but like 25 years since I last read the books. And yeah, in my memory, that one has a lot of Frodo and Sam just walking through Mordor. So it's a lot slower too.
Hobbits are very small. They do not walk very fast.
True.
Yeah. And to be like, for me, actually, I find the stuff with Frodo and Sam to be the most boring throughout everything. Like, I enjoyed what the other hobbits went through and stuff like that. So
yeah,
because they're, I think, in the second book.
The other hobbits had adventures. Frodo and Sam had a slog.
I do have to say, I hate Pippin and Merry. I hate them. Shut them down hills. Frodo and Sam's always like, Mr. Frodo. And Frodo's like, get away. And he's like, but Mr. Frodo. And he's like, I love you, Sam. And then they continue walking. And I'm just like, can we get something else happening here? And yeah, that's beginning to end. That's it. I don't know. It's my burden. But Mr. Frodo, I love you, Sam. I'm sorry. It just, it's an abusive relationship. That's all it is.
I'm sure there have been papers written on how it mirrors relationships with people suffering addiction issues and all kinds of whatever. But yeah, when you're just watching it on the screen without looking at that layer, it is a little bit ridiculous. Also, Gollum is so visibly, obviously evil and disturbed. Yeah. And Frodo's like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. No.
But isn't that why Frodo was really chosen to take the ring? Because so soft-hearted that he's like, no, he's redeemable. And I'm like, dude,
clearly evil creatures.
He didn't spend hundreds of years with this ring, and it's like his only reason.
He's not back.
He's not coming back. No.
Yeah. Also, though, Frodo is just we kept yelling like, "Oh, Sam, time to get out the back leash," because every time he turned his back, Frodo got into some sort of scrape or other, and it was just like, no, let him walk ahead of you, so
dude.
you can,
Keep Frodo in front of you.
Sam, you're almost doing such a good job, but like, always with your eyes on him, please. He will wander off like a toddler into traffic. Like,
I don't have a favorite movie in these trilogy. Tim, what's your favorite movie in this trilogy?
I think is probably Fellowship, just because it does move along. There are some really good aspects that I like in The Two Towers, and obviously all of the massive scale fights that are happening in The Return of the King are really awesome.
Yeah.
But there's so much happening in The Return of the King that we're jumping around between different things, and it's just like, okay, this battle's done, let's look at Frodo and Sam for a couple minutes, and then it's like, oh great, there's another battle happening, and it's just like, maybe we could like compress these battles down a little bit, maybe, or like little more time between them or something. So that really irks me about Return of the King. So I think I gotta go with Fellowship.
That makes sense.
yeah.
I have no retort. As I said, I don't care about any of these movies.
So basically, your favorite is the shortest of them?
Yes, essentially. Yeah. Yeah. Because literally yesterday I watched Return of the King. I started watching. It was still I work from home. It was still during my work day, and I was like, look, I can't wait until after work to watch this because damn. Okay. I put this on at 4:30 p.m. It was 8:45 before I could be like, I'm finally done. And that is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And also, like, Return of the King could have finished at least half an hour earlier than it did. And there were also several scenes in the movie that were way too long that could have been cut. That would have been another like 25 minutes. Okay.
That's probably what happened in the original edition.
Yeah, probably. Right. Just so unnecessary. So unnecessary. I'm gonna get so much hate mail for this episode because I'm just like, fuck it all. I don't care if this is Peter Jackson's opus. Sure, it's real pretty. It made Ian McKellen cry because he was talking to green screen all the time and it frustrated him. But whatever. No. I'm good.
I mean, so I obviously love these movies and I was like deeply obsessed with them back in the day, and I've read the trilogy a bunch of times and whatever. So like, you and I hail from opposite perspectives on this to start. And I never really understood. I was like, I sort of got why people wouldn't care for them, but not really because I love them so much. And then we watched the Hobbit movies last year.
Yeah.
Now, even as a person who was obsessed with the Lord of the Rings movies, I didn't watch the Hobbit movies when they came out because I was like, why the hell did you need to make 3 movies? Like, this is a cash grab and it's going to be a disaster. And I was not wrong in that assessment. But I remember, like, I only got in about like half an hour into the first Hobbit movie. And I was just sitting there with my hand over my face, like, oh, this is why people hate the Lord of the Rings movies. Like,
the first half an hour in that movie, they're still in Bilbo's hut singing songs, having dinner. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Okay. I am sorry. I seem to be swearing a lot today because apparently this is like bubbled up some anger issues.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. So
but yeah, that was what it took for me to understand why somebody might not like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, is trying to watch The Hobbit and being like, oh, fucking get a move on already. So yeah, my sympathies. I still love the original movies, but I sort of understand why you would be like, oh, this is tiresome. Like, there were a few points in The Hobbit where I was just like, am I expected to care about this? Like, give me a break. No, move on. So
I feel like The Hobbit might have been too short for a single movie. So I think 2 movies would have worked out okay for it.
Yeah.
3 was absolutely too much.
It was 100% a studio cash grab, and like they didn't even try to hide it. And that's like not a good way to make a film if you want it to be a good movie that people respect.
Well, yeah, the pacing was completely off because they didn't have enough story for 3 full films.
And yet somehow I also never figured out what the names of all the characters were. And like, I mean, I know I just said that they all
there's like 9 dwarves. There's
they
like
all
9
look the same
dwarves right in the first 2-3 scenes. and they're all named the same.
Yeah.
So I don't
never
fault you at all for that.
Yeah, no, I never got them all straight, and like yeah, not.
But I find even in these movies, like the names are way too similar and stuff. There's what is it? Saruman and Sauron. And then there's like Arwen and Arwen. And you're just like, make the names actually sound different so people can like pick them out. Because sometimes I was just like, who's he talking about? Isn't that the guy in battle? Oh no, it's the elf princess or whatever. I was like, wait, what? What are we talking about?
I think some of that is because like on the page they're very different, so it's actually like when you're reading it, that's not an issue particularly. I think like Tolkien wasn't thinking about film adaptations when he was busy nerding out, writing new languages, and then hanging a story on them to justify it. So, which no hate, I admire that about him tremendously because it's a hilarious life's work to have produced. But yeah, no, that's an adaptation issue, I think. Because
I have such
Arwen and Eowyn look very different on the page. So.
Which is that the blonde and the elf, like the elf, and then that's the human?
Yeah,
princess?
Liv Tyler and Miranda Otto.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just can't with some of them. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Miranda, she's the blonde one?
Yeah, she's Eowyn.
Why is that character so thirsty? Why is she so thirsty? Every man she sees, she's like, she makes eye contact. She's like, I love him. I love him. This is love.
I mean, because she lives in an isolated kingdom where most of the men are riders who are gone all the time. And when they're back, they A, look like her brother, and B, smell like horses. So like when some fresh blood shows up, I do not blame her. Also, like, to be fair, the two guys that she thirsts over, both fetching lads.
I must have Viggo Mortensen when he's got his hair all like, I'm sorry, Tim, this is happening. When he's got his hair over his face and it's all like sweaty and stuff, and like walks in and he's like, I have a purpose. I'm angry. And I was like, damn, I get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I understand this. Like, 87 years old. Yes, let me climb it. Like, it's like, no, girl.
That seems legit. Well, to be fair, she also might end up married off to some like, much less good looking 75-year-old in a neighboring kingdom. So like, get it, girl. If you can hook that up.
She does marry the other dude.
She marries Faramir eventually.
So that's Boromir's brother.
Yeah.
Who, can I just say, like, they were very well cast, those two, because they actually look, I'm like, yeah, they could be siblings. Like
they look kind of related. Yeah.
Kind of related. Yeah. So that's good casting.
I don't know. I heard that man's voice.
I don't know why this annoys me, but their father is not old enough to be their father. And I thought Peter Jackson did such a wonderful job, whoever cast this whole thing. And that man is only 10 years older than Boromir. And I'm like, why, you little weasel, are you their father? And I don't know why. I don't know why this obsessed.
It's like a massive pet peeve of Jess's.
I don't know why.
Look it up, but yeah.
His face is too young just because he has salt and pepper hair. It's like, dude is not your father. Like, I'm sorry. There is a lie there.
I thought he looked old enough, but I don't know when he's popping out kids or where his wife is or whoever.
Never occurred to me until Jess started fussing about it. And then I looked it up and it was like, oh yeah, he's 11 years older than Sean Bean. That's like, that's a bit iffy.
Don't ask why this is the one thing I'm like, everyone else was cast perfectly. And this man, no. It just bothers me. I don't know why.
He did rock that furry robe though. I admire his fashion sense. I kind of want one of those for swanning around my house. I'll try not to set anything on fire.
Yeah.
I just want to say I've been really into watching Elementary lately, only because it's on TV right after they show Star Trek on TV every day. So I watch Star Trek. It comes on after. Anyways, but he plays Sherlock's father, and I was like, oh my God, it's Sherlock's father. And I was like, wait, no, this came out first. So what's his name? So when I watch Elementary, I should be like, oh no, it's this guy. But I forget already. It's fine.
Denethor, I think.
Yeah. They only ever really say his name after he dies.
Yeah.
And like twice.
Yeah, they keep saying something about he's not the king, he's like the chancellor, but they don't actually like say his name.
Yeah, he's the steward of Gondor.
He's the steward of Gondor, but he's not. Yeah.
He's just keeping the seat warm for Aragorn.
Sorry, what I think is weird is that if the king's line has been broken for whoever many years, why keep a steward? Why wouldn't they just crown somebody if everybody thought there'd never be a king?
I think it's because they knew.
they were maybe waiting for him to.
There was like a prophecy or whatever. That's why they have that's why Elrond still has the sword, right? The pieces.
Where the fuck do all these prophecies come from? Do they just trickle in somewhere? Like, I don't, it has been said for many years, once the sword is bound back together, the king shall rise. Who's writing this shit down? Who's doing this?
If I had to guess, Galadriel. She seems to have her finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. Yeah. But I honestly don't know.
Witch elf. It's the witch elf. I'm just saying. Like,
Kate Blanchett?
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to ask him, like, I don't know which one that is. Who is that?
Yeah, she's like
the spooky one who speaks to people in their mind, like a fucking weirdo. She's so beautiful, and she's so beautiful for this role, like beautifully cast, beautifully dressed. She looks amazing. And then they do that weird, like, I don't know what effect they use when she's scaring people when she's talking. And it's just like, what have you done to her? Why do we have to look at this? She's like, couldn't she be pretty and scary? I don't know. I hated those.
Like, oh, wait, the one where she like sort of turns into like a skeleton ghost type thing?
Yeah, like her eyes are weird. Yeah, like I mean, I guess they're trying to show whatever that the ring she carries like has a toll, but also I hate the aesthetic of those scenes. And every time I see them, I'm just like, ugh, why? So that's one of my pet peeves that I just recalled.
There is like some knowledge that like comes from the West as well. I seem to recall being mentioned. Because like the elves and like the northern folk, I think, are originally from the West. And so like they have like past knowledge or something. So maybe like one of them has like knowledge of the future about like reforging the sword and that sort of thing. That's another possibility.
Okay, I have a question then. Does this mean you've read more than just The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings? Like, you've read like all of the other books that tell the tales of the lands and stuff? Like
I've
Silmarillion and things?
I've like flipped through the Silmarillion like years ago. But I haven't like thoroughly researched anything.
Oh no, it's not about researching, it's about reading the books. But
reading the Silmarillion basically is research.
Yeah.
Is it written like a textbook or like the Bible? Like when Steve begot Bob and they begot
I'm pretty sure half of it is appendices of family trees. I'm pretty sure.
I tried really hard and I couldn't do it.
I've only tried to read the Hobbit once, and I was in my teens and I got to like page 10 and I was yelling at my brother. I was like, I thought there was a dragon in this, and then I put it down. I haven't picked it up since. And then I watched the Lord of the Rings movies instead of reading the books, and I am never going to read the books because if this is what it's in the books, I don't want any part of it.
I remember the first time I learned about The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings was my mom was driving us to the library, and there was some radio station that was doing audiobooks effectively. Like they had somebody reading The Hobbit, and they were like at the point where Bilbo's talking with Smaug. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And it was like, I was too young at this point to like understand The Hobbit or anything like that. So, but like I remember that was my first introduction to it. And my mom was like, oh yeah, we've got this book at home, whatever, like you can read it later or something. I think that was like grade 6. No, grade 6 is when I first read it. Mm-hmm. But like that, like, for some reason, like hearing that like audiobook on the radio is just seared into my brain for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, my introduction to the series was actually in school. It was elementary, maybe it was like grade 6, grade 7. And it was one of those days where my teacher clearly just didn't want to teach anything. And they put on, the 70s animated Hobbit movie that's like an hour and a half or whatever. It's the whole thing in like an hour and 25 minutes. I don't understand why Peter Jackson can do that. But anyways, he put it on. He put it on in school, and we sat there and watched it. And I was like, "Oh, the hobbits are cute. That wasn't bad." And then I completely forgot about it for the rest of my life until later on when I tried to read the book, and then these came out. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, there's that cartoon." And then Leonard Nimoy sang that song about Bilbo Baggins and blah blah blah. and then it all came coming back. Like, yeah, that's all it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything comes back to Star Trek. I'm really sorry. It just happens that way. I don't do it on purpose. It just happens.
It's fine.
Yeah,
We know this about you. Well, are there any actors in this trilogy that are also in a Star Trek? Oh, Carl Urban. That was a dumb question.
Yes.
Are there any others that are less obvious?
Honestly, I don't think I paid enough attention to the movies.
Oh, Tisk.
Oh, wow.
Look,
You've invited us to this party, not the other way around.
I really understand that, but the first half of Fellowship of the Ring, I was like sitting there paying attention, you're just leaning for. I was like, yes, taking diligent notes and stuff, and then I was just like, this. No, I can't. No, this is not working. And then that was it. That's just how it went. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to go that way, but that's how it happened.
So my first note is it took an hour and 45 minutes for somebody to say the title of the movie.
I was so mad. That's actually a later note, but you shall be the Fellowship of the Ring. Lame is one of my notes. Okay. I know. My first note, I was like, Sauron was defeated kind of easy. No ? That was my first note.
Doesn't he only get defeated in the Two Towers?
No, when they're talking about like the origin story of the ring, and
right.
the thing, and where it's like this guy's just flailing his arm and a sword, and his finger gets cut off. I was like, really? That's it. Just it's done.
Yeah, that is a good point. And
power, like the rings keep people alive artificially, like beyond the span of their life, right? So if you lose the ring, you lose that like superpower. It's so easy, right?
No, I get it, but I mean, if you're like this great omnipotent being that's like you have this thing that has all of this power, somebody's little sword with flailing because they're like, oh, don't hurt me. That's kind of like,
yeah.
You think the Avengers would have thought of like just cutting off Thanos' hand to take the thing, but they couldn't do that because he had the thing and he was so powerful. You can't just cut off his hand.
Well, you were saying it was ridiculous that Sauron could be defeated by like a little guy with a sword, but like the whole point of these movies is that a very little guy with not a lot going for him can affect a big change against massive powers.
I mean, it's true because at the end of Return of the King, I felt exactly the same way where, the girl was going to die and like he's got the big dude and then, Pippin's just like, ah, and then he's like, ugh, and then she stabs him in the face. I mean, stabbing in the face is a lot more than just like a little scratch or whatever, but
hey,
like
his hamstring, that's a big injury. Ask a basketball player.
It's very true. But yeah, I was still just like, all right, he doesn't seem that tough.
Well, it's because she's not a man.
That is true. That just reminded me of Jurassic Park at that point. I was like, women shall rule the world, it's fine. Yes. I'm making all kinds of random references because this is what's happening. Because even there's the scene where they're at Bilbo's house and Gandalf walks in and they show like down the halls and like because all the halls are like circular and stuff. And I was like, is that the Millennium Falcon? That I don't know. It just popped right into my brain. And it just kept happening throughout the movies. And I was like, you need to stop, Tracy. Like this is not working for you. It's fine. I'm okay.
So yeah, so the thing that bothered me the most about that scene where he's like, why'd you slice off my hand? Was that like his fingers fall to the ground and then I forget his name, whatever, picks up his finger and like crumbles it to ash, and then the ring like shrinks down to like human sized because apparently Sauron has like giant sausage fingers. But it's like, no, yeah, you sliced off his fingers, but he's still standing there with a giant sword over your head. Like, what happened to Sauron when he's like, it's like, oh no, my fingers, but like also I'm still right here threatening your life. Like, that's what bothered me about that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because even later on, like the prince of whoever who's getting the ring, who's gonna put it on and be like Saruman's or Sauron. Is it Sauron's, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was the same guy.
It's the same guy. Yeah. He doesn't have the ring on. He can still fight people. So if he loses his finger without the ring, yeah, he doesn't have the same quote unquote like power over people or whatever. But he's still like quote unquote alive. So he can still fight you with his other hand or punch you in the face or something and grab it back. But he just like falls down. He's like, I'm ashes now because my accessories are horrible. Like I don't, you know.
Accessories. I can't go on without my ring.
No, this outfit is ruined. I must perish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look, if you're doing black from head to toe and you don't have a little bling in there, you're doing it wrong. I'm just saying. Okay.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. My goodness. One thing I do like about these the movies and the Hobbits is the continuous talk about food and eating, which I am doing myself right now because I woke up very late today. I haven't eaten anything. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I got 45 minutes to get ready for this. I'm going to make pancakes. Why? Because I'm a psycho. And that's what I did. I made little mini pancakes and I'm sitting here eating like it's 11sies and I'm all good to go.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the Hobbits and their many meals.
Second breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Second breakfast.
But you know what? The one thing though we had commented when they were like once they entered Mordor and like Sam finally is like, let me get rid of these pans. It's like, dude, you had no food to cook. Like
Why are
a
you
week back. Why are you still carrying like cast iron?
Yeah.
Like
Every time I saw his backpack.
Jesus.
No, I said maybe they're just really good pots or hard to come by. You can't just.
I mean, cast iron is very valuable and it gets handed down to generations, but also you could have left it at the border.
Yeah. Also,
You
they're
get
trying to.
back, you can pick it up again.
Like, did they think they were going to have a gourmet meal in Mordor? I don't think that was going to happen.
No.
You never know.
I know, and they're talking about how all they have to eat is lembas bread for days, and it's like, why do you have a full set of cookware?
Why?
Also, surely that makes noise. Like you're trying to be
Yeah,
covert,
I
you're
know.
scrambling over the rocks with like pans, but like,
Just like, oh my God, Samwise.
Yeah, I salute your optimism, but also it's ridiculous.
I know
Knock it
it
off.
is. It's like, geez.
Put down the pans, get out the backpack leash, put it on Mr. Frodo, and everything will go so much more simple for you for the next little while.
So true.
Sam
Well,
Y is
until-
more like Sam Y.
Lame. That was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I want to make a comment that memes ruin things. Especially when he's like, when one does not simply walk into Mordor, I was like, fuck, this is ruined. This is completely ruined.
It's very hard to take that scene seriously now. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they're this little, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I noticed that too. I was like, oh, what's that?
Allegedly, my friend started that meme.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was on some like wrestling forum, and they just started up all the walk into Mordor memes. One does not simply rock into Mordor.
One does not. Mm-mm.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, very good. Very good meme.
There's so many other memes that came out of these movies though. There's Walk into Mordor. There's Second Breakfast has a cult following.
Yep.
Potatoes.
Yep.
Yes, I laughed at that one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I did that yesterday.
You for sure did.
I was cutting potatoes. Potato.
What's taters, precious?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. So anyways, so far we've just been jumping around talking about these movies, just picking up random things. Do you guys want to talk about like the movies in sequence more, or do you want to keep jumping around and talk about what else?
No.
You said no to it. Just no. You're just
Yeah, we're done here. Goodbye.
okay. Thank you for joining me today. This was fabulous.
Time for second breakfast. Peace.
Well, you guys have all the notes, so I feel like you're in charge of this. We're just sort of.
We didn't take notes.
No,
I'm not that good. Like I
meant to make a chart with all the names we keep forgetting, but
she didn't. She promised. She's like, I'm gonna make you a chart so you can help. And I was like, no.
Just spent 5 minutes last night trying to remember Gollum's name, and it was hilarious because she was like, the guy with the, and she was like, my precious, the precious,
my precious,
and like just having a complete meltdown as she couldn't remember the name as I just sat and cackled.
Yeah. It's because I was trying to find it, and I was like, of course I'm gonna remember it at like 2 a.m. I'm like, Gollum. Like, I don't know why I have such a problem. I have a problem at work too. I work with a lot of clients, and I'm horrible with names.
Oh yeah, if I don't talk to people for like a month, even if I've known you for like 15 years, I'm like, no, it's gone. Who are you? I recognize your face, but what's your name again? Like it's a whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, we all have our moments struggling with names, but usually it doesn't involve hissing my precious for 5 minutes. At least not for me. I don't know your life, but
yeah. Yeah. No, the other day, so me and my friends have this thing called Wine Wednesday. And the other day we were hanging out. And one of the things we do is put on like a Hallmark movie or like one of those cheesy romances in the background. And like we're chatting over, but every once in a while, like, what is she wearing? And then we go back to whatever we're talking about. It's fine. But there was this girl in this movie. Don't ask me what the movie was or who this girl was. I don't remember. And I was like, oh my God, she looks like a younger version of this girl, this woman that used to be in the things. And she's all like sassy and she's like a bob and she does like a thing. And I'm making hand gestures and faces and stuff. And both of my friends are looking at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know, but she's like a white lady with brown hair. She's like, that's not helpful in any way. 4 days later, on a random thing, I'm like flipping through something, and it's like, what happened to these, or where are they now? Like with these people, and this woman's on the list, and I send them the name. I'm like, oh my God, it's this person. They're like, what are you talking about? I know it took me like a week and a half to remember, but this is who I was talking about. Thank you. And they're like, we don't care anymore. Yes. And this is how my life goes sometimes.
Wait. So Tracy, who was it?
Oh God, now I got to find my phone. I want to say her name was Catherine something. She was the chick from Jag.
Oh yeah. She was also in Bruce Almighty.
That's the other movie she was in. Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Okay. Cause I was like, I can't, cause I was picturing her face and she was giving like this like sassy attitude. And I was like, why can I picture her face, but nothing around her? Cause if I could picture the whole scene, I could picture what it was in, then I could look up the movie, blah, blah, blah. And it just wasn't happening. And I was like, oh my God, why can't I remember? Like, why can't I put this together? And then when I'm flipping through this thing, all of a sudden it's just like, what happened to this person? I'm like, that's her. She was in Jag. Oh my God. Like it was just, yeah. It took a minute. But yeah, I did it. Her name is Catherine Bell.
Catherine Bell. Okay.
That's all the person I can remember. So that was a long, pointless story for no reason. You're welcome. This is what I do. I have so much useless information and things to say. And this is why I have a podcast. Yay.
Okay. So I'm just sort of skimming my notes right now. I really liked the cinematography in this movie because I could see what was going on in the dark scenes.
Oh, yes. I did enjoy that part of it. Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. Because they did not do that in the Hobbit movies at all. They would show like in like the trenches where there were orcs and stuff. And you're just like, I'm looking at a black screen right now. Yay.
Yeah. No, I didn't think about that, but it's true. Even though like, yeah, the scenes with the orcs and the Uruk-hai, everything's very dark and whatever, you can still distinguish stuff well.
Mm-hmm. Also,
I mean, I guess if you spend that much time and energy and money on costuming to that insane level of detail, like you better light it well or everyone's in trouble.
Yeah.
Also, I have to say that was also a detriment to some parts of it because when you saw the orcs being birthed in the mud and cutting out of their gooey sacks, that was like a lot of like texture and viscosity that was just not needed in my opinion.
am not squeamish, and I still shrieked at that scene.
Is
It's just
that-
like I don't want it. I don't like it.
Does that scene make it into like the theatrical release? That was
Maybe not as many of them, but like you definitely see at least one orc getting birthed from the sack from the wall or whatever.
I just didn't need to know how they came about. Like,
Well, I mean, yeah.
Also-
Also, they're hybrid creatures, right?
Yeah,
Orcs and men. The Urukai are like, yeah. He was proud of his little science project, but also don't do that.
Yeah, it's interesting though because they say that like Gandalf said like orcs were elves once and just like corrupted by the darkness, right?
Yeah.
So like what are the Urukai?
Wait, what are the Urukai?
Well,
They're the white hand orcs.
Yeah, they're the combination of orcs and men.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why they're like bigger,
Huge,
and burlier, and yeah.
you ever thought of the smell?
And more intelligent. Oh,
The
please.
smell. Sorry.
Well, I have now. Thanks a lot, you jerk. Oh.
Sorry. And they eat each other? Oh, gross.
Cannibalism makes the
Yeah.
world go round. Yeah.
Hey, if you're hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't get
Maybe don't
stuck
mind
in
me.
some, Alaskan passes or anything.
Oh god.
Or be named Donner. Or
Yeah.
be in a
Ugh.
plane crash on the top of a mountain. And
Yeah.
eat butts.
Cheers for that.
Lol butts.
I'm still scarred by seeing that movie too young. Anyway.
You're welcome. Yes. Yeah. Like, so, okay. I did make a note of this, but I should have actually put a better note. So that same scene where they were birthing orcs to get or whatever. So that almost that exact same thing happens again in I think it's in Two Towers. And
Yeah.
I was so frustrated because I'm like, that's just reused footage. It had to have been because it was exactly the same. And I was like, we've already seen this. You can cut it out. It's not necessary.
I don't think it was. And I think in the Two Towers, that's when Saruman was like bolstering his numbers in order to go attack the Rohirrim.
Yeah, but they still showed the like he's walking around. They look down and the orc gets pulled out of the thing, and the guys are still like thinking at it or whatever. And I was like, we've seen this already. We know how they come about. Like, this is like 6 minutes that we can just like, he walks down, let's bolster the army. And they're like, okay, cut scene. That's it. That's all you need. It's done.
I think that second one is where they explain that they're hybrids, isn't it? I don't know. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah. I really
maybe.
didn't care anymore.
I think that the second one is where he's actually like monologuing about his evil plan and like, yeah.
Can people monologue less or use less words? Be more succinct, pithy,
I don't really think any of us are in a position to throw stones about that particular topic, but you do you.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, that's good. But you know what? It's so funny because like evil people in this sci-fi always monologue.
Yeah.
They always do. Like in Harry Potter, Voldemort like just doesn't shut up. Like
No.
Mhm.
if you just killed these people, you could probably get to where you need to go. And it's the same in Lord of the Rings. They just
It's
keep
yeah.
talking.
Oh, I was just going to say, I really enjoyed The Incredibles because he calls out that he's doing the monologuing.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
true. Yeah, it's funny.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love Syndrome. They cut his monologuing in like half. He's like, I'm fucking monologuing. And then he doesn't monologue anymore. He says short little phrases after that.
Yeah.
And then he laughs maniacally. It's great. But I think one of my problems is that I don't like, I know Saruman's supposed to be menacing and I know he's all like old and gross and he's all like, whatever. But he does not come across as menacing or scary to me in this. Like there's no, to me, there doesn't seem to be an actual danger from him because everything that's going on doesn't really have to do with him because all the orcs are doing all the thing. He's not magicking stuff. He was just like, hey, you do the thing. And he's like, okay. And then they did it. And then he's all like, look at my army. And I was like, all right.
I mean, he's
Sure.
in charge of a vast army that he birthed in those creepy pods we were just talking about. That's pretty menacing.
I guess. I don't know. They had one later on that looked like Chunk from
The Goonies, yeah.
the Goonies,
Oh yeah,
and
I think that was on purpose.
Yeah, I remember
guess.
him having like a larger role in the books,
Mm-hmm.
or at least like being called out as like well, I mean, like he's obviously like a general of some sort.
Yeah.
But I seem to recall in the books like there's the white orc or something like that. But it's been too long. I don't
Wait,
really remember.
isn't that the first one who has like the hand on his face and he's like walking around being like, I'm the baddest dude, and then like Viggo kills him on the hill when they separate or whatever?
No, because like the white orc came from Mordor.
Okay.
Whereas the orc with the white hand was like birthed by Saruman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is like two separate orc armies.
Okay. I'm gonna nod and accept your explanation as if I understand it. I'm assuming that's what happened in the movie. But yes. I mean, I really look, I really did try to pay attention, but there's like 85 characters, all with the same names. They all look the same, which is something I'm going to bring up, but I don't know if I can bring it up in this, and I just have to accept it for what it is. But I was just like, y'all all look the same and are all have the same name. I don't know who's who. Oh yeah, that was my problem.
Huh.
Yeah.
That was not something I would have said about these movies.
Really? Literally, there is no diversity in this world in any way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a bunch of like, dumbass white people running around.
Yeah.
Like,
there's barely even people with black hair in this movie. Everybody's like between dark brown and white hair the whole movie. Most people have like, like Carl Urban's character, like that bleach blonde look, which seems kind of odd, but it's a whole lot of that throughout the whole movie. Yeah. At one point in time, they killed like a bad guy and he has curly hair and I was like, diversity, what? And I was just so confused. And I was like, oh, I think this is why everybody's confusing me, because I was like, for a little bit, I thought Viggo Mortensen's character and Sean Bean's character was the same person. And I was like, no, wait a second. Now they're arguing with each other. So they're definitely different people. He's going to get turned. Oh, it's Sean Bean. Of course he's going to die. So no, he can't be the same as that guy, because doesn't that guy live to the end? What's going on? Okay. It was a whole thing. And then you've got Legolas in the background making very like serious faces all the time. He's like, I can see the wind, the sunset.
Hey.
We do not accept hate.
Excuse me. No slander to Legolas.
I remember.
We love Legolas over here
do.
in this household. And Gimli. I love a bromance, okay?
He's hilarious.
They're adorable. And I love that they are competing how many people they kill. Like,
yeah, I forgot how the movies have a sense of humor like that.
Well, I mean, they were competing in the books too.
Yeah.
But just to that brooding elf comment, he does lighten up as the movies progress.
Yeah.
Mostly because of his bromance with Gimli.
I did laugh when he took down like the elephant and like Gimli's like, that only counts as one. I was like, okay, that was funny.
Well, I think it's because like Legolas is a prince, and so he's all like, oh, I'm a prince.
Wait, I'm sorry, he is?
He is?
Yeah, he's the prince. Is it the Woodlands? The Wood
Elves.
Elves. So there's like different elfin groups, and
I thought it was just random elf guy. Like I know.
So the contingency that comes is like a different group of elves. They don't live where, help me out, Rivendell. They're not those elves. So he is a prince, and then they also like elves and dwarves don't like each other. So I think it isn't until he realizes how good Gimli is and like how Galadriel loves Gimli, like she gave him some of her hair, and so I think that really made him trust him, and then they developed a bromance. I love it.
Yeah.
And they go off together into the Undying Lands when they get old. Like, how cute is that?
I have a question. What the fuck are the Undying Lands, and where is it, and what goes on over there? I don't. Because they kept talking about these people that the elves live forever. Oh, but we're gonna go to a boat and go somewhere else. I'm like, isn't isn't this the world? Like where are you going? Like, is it like what?
It's another realm. If I'm
Yeah.
I thought it was like a different continent.
Is that it? Just a
Is
different.
that?
I thought it was a different realm, but that's just
Yeah.
what my understanding is, that it's not on the earthly plane.
It's not
but
in Middle Earth.
It's not in Middle Earth. So, but
Yeah.
that's my understanding. I don't know anything more than that because I haven't read all the other texts about it, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I haven't read the books in so long that I don't remember.
I
but,
just
like,
know that like Samwise ends up anybody who's been a ring bearer is allowed to go there for peaceful like passing on. But it's my understanding that non-elves will eventually die there. Like they move.
Well, yeah,
on
like
to
Bilbo's
another-
going there to die.
To die.
There's
So
no question about
Frodo
that.
will eventually die, and Samwise, when he gets old and his wife passes, he goes to reunite with Frodo. And then I do know that Legolas goes on to the Undying Lands and he collects Gimli. I do know these things. That's because
Thank you, internet.
thank you, internet. But I love Gimli and Legolas, so
Yeah.
I know that about them. So because Gimli was a part of the Fellowship, he was allowed in. I think he's one of the only dwarves to go to the.
Makes sense.
So my question is, so they die, but like the elves live forever still?
Yeah.
So when an elf dies, it's my understanding when an elf dies in Middle Earth, they eventually get reincarnated in, or like, I don't know the actual term, in the Undying Lands. So it's like not a permanent, even when they die in Middle Earth, they don't truly die.
They'll be back.
They'll be back, but I don't think they can come back to Middle Earth. I think they're like in the Undying Lands. And then I think the elves that go to the Undying Lands are in their current form and they stay that way, and they don't die there. They just continue on.
So is this why there's no like elf children or whatever, or how do they procreate? How is there more than one of them? Because like every elf home place you go to, there's no children. They're all full formed adults, but everybody's like, this is my daughter and this is my son and this is my whatever. And I'm like, I mean,
their lifespans are so long that like, I mean, Arwen is Elrond's daughter, but like she's also however old she is. Like
she's Legolas.
At least
standard, she is a
200.
child, but she's like
because I think like Legolas is a couple thousand years old. His father, I think, is. I read somewhere. I was reading an article. My phone knew I was rewatching these movies and sent me a bunch of articles. So I think Lee Pace, who plays him in The Hobbit.
I saw him on that majestic, like, what is it, moose he comes on, and he's all like
caribou. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is some sassy, drag runway business happening there.
The fact that he is younger than Orlando Bloom was hilarious in that movie. Like by that point, it's like, okay, this is funny. He's a couple years younger, but his age, he's like 6,000 years old.
So just Googled it. And Legolas was born in 87 of the Third Age, which makes him 2,931 years old at the time of the War of the Ring.
Jesus.
What? And my curiosity is like, when do they must age super slow. So like hobbits also age slow. And the fact that like Pippin is considered a child, like he's considered like a teenager, which is why he's allowed to make all these mistakes and be a little asshole.
Yeah, but they also don't live a long life. Like it's a miracle. Like Bilbo made it to his 111st birthday at the beginning, and like that's old for a hobbit.
Yeah.
It's funny that they mature slow, but they don't live long. I know, because there's a reason like Samwise calls Frodo like Mr. Frodo, is because Samwise is in his 30s and Frodo's in his 50s. So there is a like significant time difference. And then I know Tracy.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So like, yeah, and Pippin, I believe, is like a teenager.
None of this comes across in the movies, though.
No, not at all.
No, they don't even
realize
attempt to do that.
The only thing you might know is like one act's a little more mature than the rest, and then Sam calls him Mr. Frodo, which could just be the way Sam talks, but also kind of alludes to a respect and a respect he has for him.
Like Sam actually works for Frodo. Yeah. That's how they
he's the gardener.
Yeah, he's the gardener.
Yeah,
I got that much out of the movie.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. So I just wonder if elves are where they take hundreds of years to mature, even maybe 1,000, because I think Legolas is still considered like a young elf, even though he's not a child.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, all the elves we meet are basically like ready to pack it in with Middle Earth and go to the Undying Lands. And presumably you don't get to that state in a day or a year, right? So like I guess they've stopped having children partly because they see that Middle Earth is dying.
Well, that's why I was so confused by the whole thing. Like even when Liv Tyler's character was like dying in Middle Earth. And they're like, oh, we've got to get you to the boat to the other place. And I'm like, where the fuck is she going? Why is she dying all of a sudden? What's happened? I was just like, all right.
It's the necklace.
She gave the even star to Aragorn, and that like sapped her elfie mojo. So she's becoming mortal.
Yeah, I understood she was becoming mortal, but later on, she starts getting sick and stuff, and they say she's dying because her life is now connected to the journey of the ring. And I was like, how is that possible? Like, why? I don't understand. Like,
if I think about it too hard, I don't understand why. I can understand her life being tied to Aragorn, but I don't understand how it's tied. I'm sure you'd have to
he's part of the journey of the ring.
Yes, he's part of the journey, but
right? Like,
I don't know.
What he does is going to have a material impact on that. So also he's the heir. Like in order for the kingdom of Gondor to survive, the king has to come back, right? So, he's the Isildur's heir. Like he's a big part of it. So
I know.
Yeah, I guess. Oh. But wait, when he breaks the necklace, then does that why she lives? Because her essence goes back to her or something? Like I don't understand the significance of the necklace breaking.
They don't really talk about it too well in the movies, to be fair.
I think the significance of the necklace breaking is that he thinks that he's never going to see her again. I don't think that actually has an impact on her because she handed it over, and that was the necklace's role.
Yeah.
So it's not specifically tied to that piece of jewelry. It's just like he thinks
she's dead, or she's went back to
that she's gone to the Undying Lands and he's never going to see her again. And then
so you can't come back from the Undying Lands. It's a one-way journey, right?
Yeah. So that's just like a little.
It's like him
a thing that we now know about him. It's not specifically relevant to her, but
okay.
I'm
just nodding at those. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just shrugging. Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. The closer the ring gets to Mordor, the more powerful it is, and more delicate creatures like elves are going to suffer. So an elf that's becoming mortal is going to have a bad time.
Okay, see, why didn't you just say that? That makes more sense to me now. Okay.
I'm sorry, was I not deep enough for you? I was working up to it.
Yeah, because that whole thing was like confused to me because when her father goes and sees Viggo, and he's all like, well, now she's dying because she's attached to the ring. And I was like, I'm very confused by this. But now that you say that they're affected by the how powerful the ring is, because I knew the ring was getting more powerful the closer they got to Mordor.
Yeah.
So then that makes sense to me now. That just wasn't very clear in the movie.
It does seem a little bit weird. Not that she would be dying, but that she like rallies and it all ends up fine.
Yeah, because I understood she was coming.
That was actually the sketchy bit.
Yeah. It's like, oh, she's fine. But I wonder how long that is by the time she appears back, because he's got a huge ass beard and he's, everything seems to be like recovered and like there's cherry blossoms floating.
Well, but also like once the ring gets, 86, then everybody is doing better.
It's just magical.
Yeah, the tree blooms in Gondor again, and there's a king. And
we've actually talked about this and how they just appear back at the Shire, and there's no discussion about how ruined it was due to like the evil. And I'm just like,
that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I know that Return of the King is like 8 years long, and there's 0% chance they could have focused on the Shire because everybody would have just rioted, even the fans.
Mm-hmm.
But like, one of the major points in the book is that like, Merry and Pippin in particular, like they went and they learned and they grew physically even, and they like picked up all these weird skills and leadership qualities that then they thought they were going home to the Shire, which was safe, and then when it wasn't, they were actually prepared to like put it back to rights. Like they thought they thought their homeland was protected and it wasn't, but it turned out they were like the protectors they needed to get them back on track.
Yeah.
So
I totally forgot because like Saruman escapes and then he goes to the Shire, right? Or like who like attacks the Shire?
Well, I mean, some of it's, I don't know that there's like a proper like attack, but just like the evil creeping over Middle Earth like impacts the Shire too, and like crops die and like that kind of stuff. Like it's just things get dire there because it's wartime and that will happen.
Yeah, but this is but in Fellowship of the Ring, when the I don't know, the four horsemen of the apocalypse are riding around trying to find the ring wraith, there you go.
Yeah.
But don't they end up in the Shire because they find out a hobbit has it, and don't they like kill a couple people in there in Fellowship of the Ring?
Yeah.
They kill people?
Well, they definitely tried to murder the hobbits in the Prancing Pony.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
They ride through the Shire and they they scare the bejesus out of everybody, but they don't find the hobbit they're looking for. So that's when they end up in Bree at the Prancing Pony.
Okay. I know for some reason I thought like when they're riding through the Shire, they killed a few people before.
I don't think so.
They definitely like blew open the doors in Bree, like the city gates.
Okay.
They don't care about collateral damage, but they're not like actively violent. They're pretty focused.
I don't think they're slaughtering as they go. I think they will if you stand in their way, but I think they're just more
they have
focused.
One goal.
Yeah.
They don't.
I wrote it.
Yeah.
And like that's another point why I was reading an article about how Merry and Pippin were accepted into the Fellowship to be a distraction because they wanted more hobbits so that they could disguise Frodo. And it was really Merry and Pippin getting kidnapped, I don't know, by that horde that really allowed Sam and Frodo to escape and go off on their little adventure by themselves.
So you're telling me Pippin and Merry were bait?
They were they were decoys.
Decoys. I mean, and I whether anybody expressed it outright, but I'm sure Elrond and them
0% chance Gandalf and Elrond didn't know that when they were like, yes, let the bumbling idiots follow along on this caravan of incredible importance.
And then I'm sure that they proved themselves, and then the elves and like Gandalf were like, oh, they're actually quite amazing. Yeah. But for sure, the more little folk you have around, the better it's going to be, harder for them to figure, because the orcs don't know. They don't care. There's a little person, take them.
I must admit, I understood Gandalf's anger when they were in like the dwarf tunnels, and who was it? Pippin knocked over the thing and went in and all the noise. I was just like, "What the? Throw him down the well! Just
no touchy."
Yeah, no touchy. Like, don't touch shit. Yeah. And again, it's like that's when you're just like fucking teenagers. Man.
Same when he touches the sphere, or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like, dude, that is connected. Directly, and it's like
and there's the next movie, but I have a comment about that. I was like, oh my god, yes. Yeah. Anyways, and the other comment is, so you know how I kept saying other movies kept popping up in here?
Yeah.
In the dwarf tunnels, when they get into the big hall that has all like the pillars everywhere, I was like, isn't that Legend? Is the Lord of Darkness down there? What?
I was saying the Balrog, that scene always reminds me of Legend.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It just like the way the columns are all laid out, and then like there's like this weird dark and shadow in the background coming forward. I was like,
yeah,
fucking Legend.
And the silhouette of the Balrog with like I haven't seen Legend since I was like, I don't know, like a preteen probably, but still every time I see that I'm like,
I watched that like 2 months ago. It's actually there's some very questionable things in it, but it's also still pretty good. Because there's some angles in there where you're just seeing crotches a lot, and you're just like, can we not? Can we not? Thank you. Yeah. But yes, watch it in. It's pretty.
Mm-hmm. So you love Legend. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, because Legend is nice and succinct. It's small, it works. It doesn't just keep going.
So what you're saying is you hate sprawling epics.
No, I mean, if it's a sprawling epic, there has to be a purpose to the sprawl, is all I'm saying. Because there's a lot of like random dead space and chitter chatter that doesn't actually do anything for the story or character building or movement of anything. And like, if I'm going to sit somewhere for an extra 45 minutes, longer than usual, I want to know why. Right? Because I've watched a lot of long movies, and I'm fine with it as long as they're good and they make sense and things belong there. This was just a lot of like, yeah, we're hanging out now. Here's a sweeping shot for 6 minutes. It's like, what the fuck? Let's go.
Hating on the natural beauty of New Zealand? That's not very nice of you.
No, I don't mind the natural beauty. Like when Fellowship of the Ring first starts, and they show all the swooping things of like the Shire, and they're like, "Ooh, these are hobbits, and this is what they do, and look how green it is. Look how happy they are." Oh,
It actually is that beautiful there. It's
and that's fine, and that is
anything in the movie.
But that is acceptable at the beginning because they are setting a scene, so that is fine. Okay. But later on, when you already know they're walking somewhere, they're already walking in a field, we've seen the greenness of the field, and they're all just cameras swooping everywhere, you know, and you're like, camera, look, it's green still. Ah.
But they're going on an adventure.
Yeah.
But no, it's not needed. It's just too much. It's just a lot of repetition. Oh, don't forget it's pretty. You're like, I get it. I get it.
I can't believe you got the extended edition.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
I'm so confused why you did that.
This happen?
So, when these movies came out, I was working in a bookstore, and as a reward for doing a good job at the bookstore, the company gave you like points, right? And like employee points. And it builds up to like cash amounts and like gift cards to spend in the store of stuff. I had saved up for like 3 or 4 years or whatever, and I had a couple $100. And Visa just came out, and because they were new and they're expensive, they had like 40% off, blah, 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 you know? And so I got them. I don't know, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not really spending my money on it.
Doesn't count.
I'll get it, right?
Yeah.
And my friend was like, no, like the extended edition just adds so much more and so like to the story and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, as a giant nerd, I'm like, I wanted to understand. I wanted to know. And I was like, I'm not spending money. I'll get it. It's expensive, but I'm not technically paying for it. I will get it. And then I got it and I watched it and I called my friend and was like, go to hell. So yeah, that is the story of how I have the extended editions.
All right. I mean, these movies just aren't for everybody.
Yeah,
that's
They're
fair.
not.
I always love to tell my dad is like, love him to death. He has never read a fantasy novel in his life. He's like super just not into that kind of thing at all. He like most nerdy stuff. He's just like, no, hard pass. Mm-hmm. And somehow his friend convinced him to go with him to see The Two Towers.
Oh God.
So he hadn't seen Fellowship. He's never read the books. And I was just like, Dad, that movie is like just not going to be for you. I'm not sure what you're doing.
There are talking like, trees.
Well, that's the thing. And he was like, whatever, I'll give it a try. And then so afterwards I was like, so what did you think? And he like looked at me and he was just like, walking, talking trees. And that was his whole review.
Yes, that is exact. Yeah.
Man, I tried to tell you.
Well, yeah, especially to start with the second one. Like, if it was the first and it wasn't his thing, at least it's like the starting of the story. Yeah. It's so funny to come in the middle to be like, I have no idea.
Like, I wonder if his friend was like, okay, so this is what's happened so far. This is where we're going to start. Here's the 35 people. They're doing this for this, and there's a ring, and there's a blah, 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 and
that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the concept is, walking, talking trees. Stupid.
Yeah. Okay. So talking about Two Towers, I hate the Ents to a ridiculous level. Okay. Until the very last like 5 minutes and they're destroying the tower. Because that's
a badass scene.
That is a really badass scene. I gotta give you
that. It's scarier than your shit being wrecked by a bunch of trees.
Seriously, right? And so until that point, I hate the Ents. They're slow. They're obnoxious. Well, I guess they're centuries old, and they're like, it takes, like an hour for them is like a half a second, that kind of thing. And I was just so frustrated by them and the characters. And again, because they're so slow and stuff, we don't need to see the whole slow progression.
Wait, hang on. Does that mean that you identify with Merry and Pippin in that scene?
Oh, damn it.
Gotcha.
Oh, damn it. I do. Okay, so the one scene, Merry and Pippin are correct. Okay, fine. Fine. Yes. Because while watching those scenes, I felt just as frustrated as them. They're like, we've been here for 12 hours. I'm like, so have I. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So they knocked those scenes out of the park, is what you're saying.
The worst.
I have one note about Ents.
Yeah.
And it's during the battle scene where they're attacking, and one of them gets lit on fire.
Oh,
yeah.
At a later time, 2 or 3 shots later, after they break the dam, you see him running into the water. That was a very nice touch that I highly appreciated.
I appreciated that one as well. Yeah. One of my first notes on this movie is this should start with previously in Lord of the Rings. That was my first note for this movie. Because I was just like, they're walking, I guess. Sure, let's go with it. The funny thing is, I watched these when they were released. So this movie came out a full year after, and I very much doubt I rewatched Fellowship of the Rings before watching Two Towers, and I watched these two a day apart, and even I was just like, what the fuck happened in that other movie? Okay, yeah, sure, they're walking. That's all I need to know. That was it.
So one thing that stood out to me, because in Two Towers, that centered a lot around Rohan.
Yeah.
The horse people. And then later on, you see in the Return of the King, you see the massive horse army that they muster. How much agriculture needs to happen in order to support that number of horses?
That was a good question.
A lot of villages.
Yeah,
yeah.
Are these just wild horses they captured just for this, or are they all very well trained horses that they kept in stables or stuff?
I feel like most of them would be pretty well trained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they're known for that, right? They're known for
the riders of Rohan.
The riders of Rohan. So they have to be breeding and training and spending a lot of time. And then, they'd have to have full-on villages full of people to sustain agriculture, which they were attacked, right?
But some of the horses must start as wild horses also, because Theodred's horse that they can't control, Aragorn chills him out, but is no, he's ready to go back to
talks to horses.
Basically he's not going to be a person's horse anymore. If he'd been bred, yeah.
Yes, he's seen some shit. He's time to retire. I need to go back.
But yeah, if he'd been raised in the barns there, they wouldn't just turn him loose onto, whatever. He obviously started as a wild horse that Theodred managed to
maybe some horses are destined to meet up with their rider, and then once their rider's gone, it's peace, I'm out.
Yeah.
Because Gandalf has the king of horses, or what's it called? Shadowfax, yeah. And it's there's got to be some of them like that, right? That just are this is what we're doing now, and then we're going to go on and leave.
Spirit horses or whatever. I don't know.
They're familiars.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Bonded.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Anyway,
that reminds me of Avatar for some reason. I'm not gonna.
No.
Anyways.
Speaking about long and unnecessary epics. Anyway.
What, isn't the next movie coming out next year or something?
Yeah.
Christmas?
I actually haven't seen the first one because Leah told me I would get so mad that it would raise my blood pressure and I should
Oh yeah, I flipped tables over that movie.
I haven't had the pleasure.
Wait, but live adaptation? What adaptation?
No, Avatar.
Oh
no, not the anime.
I thought you said a different movie.
Yeah. Never mind. Let's not talk about that.
I've never seen it, and so there you go. Yeah. I'm just not going to, but I did. Sam Worthington actually said he's going to be 50 when the second one comes out, and he was 40 years. He's it's been so long that he's guys, I'm super old. It's God. So that was funny.
Yeah.
I also completely forgot Carl Urban was in this, and when he first makes his appearance, I was like, "It's Carl Urban!" Oh my god!
I didn't recognize him.
I love him.
I've watched these movies so many times, and it was this last watch, and she was like, Carl Urban. I was like, who? And I was like, oh my god! How did I not? Right? Maybe just because he's young with long blonde hair.
It's so funny. It's so funny because the first time I ever saw either Carl Urban or Orlando Bloom was in these movies, right? And I remember watching when I watched the trailer for Fellowship and Legolas showed up, I was just like, okay, hold the phone. Who the fuck is that? That's the hottest man I've ever seen. And I went to whatever the, IMDb equivalent was and was like, tell me everything about this beautiful blonde blue-eyed creature. And who is not blonde or blue-eyed. And now when I watch it, I'm like, he looks so weird. That's not what Orlando Bloom looks like.
He looks very different.
And Carl Urban, it's the same deal. Like the first time I saw him, he had long blonde hair. So I was like, oh, that's what Carl Urban looks like. Now I watch it and I was like, that is so not what he looks like.
No, the first time I saw Carl Urban, he was on an episode of Xena and he played, I think it was Eros, and he had wings and had bleach blonde hair. So to me, I was just like, that's just how it goes. But also, I think Chronicles of Riddick came out just before that one, and I was like, "Oh, are you gonna take us to the Lord of the Underverse? Let's do this." Okay, I was fine. I don't know. I love Carl Urban as well. He picked some really interesting characters that he just puts. Like I know there are people out there who are just like, you know, like a real actor has to like find his purpose and find his space, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know what Carl Urban does. He just fucking shows up and kills it every time, whether it's in Xena or Doom or this or like Dread or whatever. Whatever character he's in, he puts in 150%.
Or Star Trek.
Kills it every time. Yes, or Star Trek. I'm trying not to be me, okay? Stop.
Yeah, that's cute. I mean, he's a tremendous nerd, which I think helps a lot, right? Because like a lot of these properties, he probably like got the script to read and like geeked about it. So you know, like he was super excited about Star Trek and stuff. So like, yeah,
he kills
helps
it.
that he's one of us.
He kills it as bones. He really does. He like embodies for DeForest Kelly. Like he really did do it. But no, I love Carl Urban. Everything I will see anything that he's in. Yeah, you know, done.
And this was one of his first big roles, right? Because like he is Kiwi, isn't he? Or is he? I think he's from New Zealand.
I have no idea. Actually, I really should know more.
Well, he was in Xena and this. Like he was a local that got cast, and then now he's like a name. But
he's from New Zealand.
Yeah. So.
I must admit, I cannot get into The Boys, though. I can't get into that show.
I've never watched it. It's been on my list, and every time I go to start it, I just end up watching something else.
Me too. Even Jensen Ackles hasn't managed to lure me to The Boys, and he's like my one true TV boo. So
yeah. Did you finally finish watching Supernatural yet?
Sorry?
Did you finally watch Supernatural yet?
No, she doesn't want to see the ending. She's ignoring the fact that it has ended, and
I'm telling you, you are gonna. I want the text message about why am I crying so much? This is ruining my life. I need this text message. Just an FYI. I'll
let you know.
You will eventually. You'll have to do it.
No, you know what? I actually watched a couple. I mean, I already know what happened. Well, no,
but I got massively spoiled. Of course you do. Like, it doesn't actually matter. I think no matter what they did, I think you would be ended. I think if
they managed what they'd planned, I would feel better about it. But.
Anyway, you guys should have just froze it until
I actually watched an episode earlier in the last season a while ago, and then I just was like, oh god, this is too depressing, I can't. So I need a time when I can actually just marathon it. Also, one of my very favorite actors is in one of the last episodes, and I still haven't seen it.
Which one?
Christian Kane.
Who's that?
We've had this discussion before. You've had to explain this to me before.
The guy with the long hair.
Oh yeah, I like him.
My future ex-husband. Yeah.
Okay, I do want to make a correction. Carl Urban played Cupid. That was the first time I saw him. Right. But he also played Julius Caesar on Xena. But Cupid was the first time I saw him, and he was all bleach blonde with wings and shit. So.
Yeah.
What else is he other than those two things? And obviously Star Trek. What else is Carl and The Boys? Anything else?
Dread.
Yeah. He's also done Doom. He did Pathfinder. He was in Red. I really liked Red. Red was great.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's one of those
Almost Human.
I don't understand why that only had one season. It was so good. It was so good.
Which is that? What's that?
Almost. It was a TV show where he played a detective, and he worked with a robot played by Michael Ealy, and they were solving crimes essentially.
Never watched.
But there was also a conspiracy going on, and but it was also a pseudo dystopian future where there was a wall around it, and they went to the wall. No, trust me.
You're really selling it there, Trey.
There's so many elements I should like, and when you put them together in that order, I'm like, oh, absolutely not.
But it was like it was a combination of RoboCop and iRobot put together in a cooler way than both of these movies. So it's fine. I'm not selling this. Just trust me. Find the first
elevator pitch needs editing, but fine.
The elevator pitch on IMDb is, in a not so distant future, a human cop and an android partner up to protect and serve. I would never watch that show.
No, that sounds terrible.
It just sounds like a robot.
But but that first season was really great, and I was so mad it got canceled. So mad. But I recommend. He was in Peter. Oh yeah, he was in Thor Ragnarok as well. Yes.
He's also in Ghost Ship.
He's in a lot.
He's in Ghost Ship?
He's in Ghost Ship.
The thing about it is, like, he's a good looking dude, but he's like a pretty normal looking dude also. Like, he's like, he can just be that guy. Like, he's not, he doesn't have like a real movie star face particularly. So he can sort of blend.
I kind of disagree with that. I think he does have a movie star face. I think he's just good at blending into his films. So that you're not like, you're like, oh, look, it's Tom Cruise. Or, oh, look, it's Jamie Foxx. These are people who do not, no matter what they're doing. I don't understand how, like,
Tom Cruise is the same character in every movie. Tom Cruise, except for the Tropic Thunder when he did that. But like,
also Interview with the Vampire.
But most of his roles, most of the roles is like, the same. Tom Cruise does the same thing.
He has a shtick. Yeah. He has a shtick. I don't know. There are a lot of actors where it's hard to forget that they are like who the actor is. But Karl Urban is not one of those people.
Yeah. Like, because that's why I always say, like, he does 150% because you're like, you're not Karl Urban anymore. You're this person. And you're like, I'm there for it. I am there for it. That kind of thing.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yeah, that is me gushing over Karl Urban for 20 minutes for some reason. It's well deserved, Karl Urban. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, he's great. And some people like start in these movies and then it like launched a very successful career like him, and then others like not so much. So
yeah.
Good job, Karl.
He did it.
I mean, a lot of the people in that film are famous still, so it's a pretty good job. A lot of them. There's a lot of people in
there's so many people in this
so much cast, and like, though I love one of the things that like the big one of the orc, the lighter skinned one when he had like the sewn thing, he was modeled after Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, that's confirmed. Right.
He was the what is he called? Because is he an orc, but he's like light.
Yeah, he's one of the Uruk-hai generals, I think.
Yeah.
No, he's one of the Mordor orcs.
Yeah.
The one that looks like Chunk from the Goonies.
Yeah, so apparently
is that the same one? Oh.
Yeah.
No, his name's not Chunk. Is it Chunk? No, Chunk is the kid. What's
right. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. My brain is failing. This is unacceptable. I have seen
that movie
800 times.
Me as a child. I haven't seen it since.
But yeah, no, apparently Peter Jackson was so pissed off at Harvey Weinstein, couldn't really speak out too much about it. So he pretty much was like, make that orc general look like Harvey Weinstein.
I'm down for it. Oh, it's Sloth. It's
anyway.
I love that.
Fucking with him. Because I think Harvey Weinstein wanted this to be one movie. And Peter Jackson was like, absolutely not. No. There's no way.
Like, I will give you this. Like, this is definitely too much to be one movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't need to be 3 4-hour movies. It doesn't.
I feel like it does need to be 3 movies, but also it feels like some of Return of the King should have been in 2 towers.
Yeah, but I also think they could have made 3 movies that were like 2 hours each. There's a whole lot of, again, sweeping landscapes and sitting to eat that could have just been cut out.
Eating is important. They have to get their strength.
The priorities of hobbits are very clear, Tracy.
Very clear. They eat a million meals. They must eat their strength.
They do.
I need to get on a hobbit diet, but if I get on a hobbit diet, I have to wake up earlier in the day so I can have breakfast.
Yeah.
Second breakfast, 11
I fail at human breakfast. I can't handle the responsibility of hobbit breakfast.
You'll just be eating a lot of potatoes. So
I do that already. It's fine. I love
all potatoes and all forms.
I know.
But you know what? Actually, one of the things I really loved about the movies with the Hobbits is every time they were standing next to a human, I was like, oh, they are that small. And I want to put them in my pocket. And they're so cute. Because you forget when they're like chatting and it's like above here. But then when you see them back and they're like at their waist.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, that's really cool the way they did that.
Yeah, I had very inappropriate thoughts about that. And I was just like, oh.
Oh no.
Tracy,
Why?
Look, my brain was wandering while watching these movies because they were so slow. And I was just like, where's the Hobbit porn? Why hasn't this happened yet? It's fine.
I can assure you that it most definitely exists.
I'm also kind of happy I have not seen any of it, and I'm okay.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings fandom, like,
yeah.
oh boy.
I
don't we can't even get into it. We literally don't have enough time, no matter how much time you scheduled. But like, they were like the precursor to like Harry Potter, like We Eat Our Young, crazy town shit. So,
but I must admit, every fandom has a certain subsect that is just like,
this one crossed over into like conspiracy theories about the actors, and like somebody ended up in jail over stolen money from a con, and there were like sock puppet suicides. It like, oh
wait,
man.
What? You can't.
You can't know.
This was the Harry Potter one or the Lord of the Rings one?
This is Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Yeah. There was okay.
Elaborate.
Okay, we got one story.
Explain. No, there's too much. Let me sum up. there was a whole subset that was convinced that, I think it was Dominic Monaghan and Elijah Wood were very close to me. We're like actually in a relationship and like trying to signal to fans that like we're in the know that they were secretly together in real life. And like there was a whole tin hat community of lunatics, but they tried to like put on a convention. So like they had all these people like paying for a con that had all these guests that like weren't actually involved. Like it was total fraud, except I don't think they were trying to commit fraud. I think they just sucked at what they were trying to accomplish. So like they ended up with like hundreds of people out a bunch of money and nothing actually happening. And like, yeah, I think somebody did eventually end up in jail, except they avoided the jail because they like basically pretended to commit suicide and then like popped back. Like they had like multiple accounts. And so like the main one that was in charge of the convention, like killed herself. And then her friends were like, you guys did this because you wanted your money back. And it just like turned into this whole like insane thing. And like people were asking the actors like, oh, tell us about this convention appearance. And they were like, nobody even contacted us. Like, we're not getting involved in this. We don't know what's happening.
Wait, where's the sock puppet?
But like, well, that's what I mean. Like this person had multiple accounts that were all involved in like sock puppet accounts. Did you think I meant literal sock puppets?
To be honest, I did too. I thought there were actual sock puppets involved.
Are there like the actors?
I mean,
I don't know what that means. I'm not that deep in the internet sometimes. Okay,
well,
like
anyway, it was a whole bizarre thing, and the person ended up. At least one person, I think, ended up in jail for like committing fraud. And
why do sometimes they're obsessed with the hobbits being with each other, like the actors?
I don't know. Also, the person who was primarily responsible, like, yeah, first she committed suicide, then she changed her name. Then she transitioned and then transitioned back, I think. And like, I don't know. There was a lot
going on there.
But anyhow,
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
But, like, I think this is a worthwhile story and I'm very glad to have heard it. But also I do feel cheated about a sock puppet story. So I'm just putting it out there.
I thought there were sock puppets of the actors.
And
like the people showed up to the Comic-Con and there was like puppets up on the stage and stuff.
I assume. Okay, well, no, not literal sock puppets. Internet sock puppets, nerds. Come on.
The whole scenario.
This isn't like the ball pit convention. This never actually happened.
No.
Anyway.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of craziness in Lord of the Rings fandom, is what I'm saying.
Cool. All right.
A lot of conspiracy theories about the actors boning each other.
I mean, I'm sure
in
some of them
various
boned each other, but
configurations.
like,
I mean, you put that many very good looking people in an isolated place.
they
for
were
that many
there
months,
for
like
a year or more than that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they
More
were
than
there
that.
for a long time. But like, I don't actually care. They can bone each other. I don't care.
yes.
Yeah, that they're people. They're gonna do shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. So sorry, that was a little aside for y'all.
It was great. Don't worry. It was great.
Yeah. Eye-opening. Like I had no idea this was happening.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Never gonna do this. I think that's one of my problems though. Like people know that I love movies and TV and I'm obsessed with it and stuff, but outside of the actual program most of the time, I don't
Yeah.
care what anybody's doing. I know the stories from beginning to end. I know a lot of minutia and I know a lot of stuff, but it's all to do with the actual end product, right? I don't go looking for the things on the outside somewhere unless it's like something that's obvious that happens like like why'd they kill this guy so randomly? That's just really weird. Oh, sexual harassment since you got fired from the show. Okay, I get it. Like fine.
Right.
But, you know,
I'm
other
the
than that-
opposite. I want to know what's going on behind the scenes, and like you're never gonna catch me watching like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or whatever. But when there's
No.
a dust up in fandom, I'm like, oh, where's my popcorn? That's like
I don't even
that's my
try
catnip.
though.
I love it.
Now my phone just knows what I'm into or what I like. I didn't even. Oh, I might have Googled something Lord of the Rings when we were watching it.
Probably.
But it's like, and then I just get inundated with all these articles, and then I start reading them, and then it's a slippery slope into like, oh, now I know a lot of stuff I didn't know before. And my phone now does that. Back in the day, I had to like, you have to actually like search it out. But now
the algorithm comes for
the
us all.
fandom comes to you, and you're just like, oh no. And now like I've like, if I'm on TikTok, it's like my TikTok knows, and then I get like all I even get the actors and like get everything. So
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah. They're watching us, everybody, and listening.
oh, listening
They are.
for sure.
They are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah,
What were we
sorry, I
talking
really
about?
yanked us off the path on that one. My apologies.
It's okay. One
Actually,
of
no,
the
you did. You're the one who brought up Hobbit porn.
it's,
Chuck Hughes.
Oh, Hobbit porn. No.
look, when I am bored, my brain wanders, and this
Thanks,
is what happens.
Tracy.
Okay. It's just what happens. I did have a note though, because this was done in the early 2000s.
The turn of the millennium.
The turn of the millennium, you know, we shall call it the Willennium and get jiggy with it. Thank you very much. But some of the special effects have not aged well. Like they just look horrendous. And there's one part where I don't know who the other hobbit is that Smeagol is with at the beginning, but he's underwater and he like sees the ring.
Yeah.
That whole effect is what? That is garbage. I could do that effect on my phone right now if I wanted to. But back in the day, that was like state of the art. It took like 85 people to get done. Blah blah blah. But that whole thing did not. The light behind him and like he's in water, but he's clearly on green screen going like this.
I mean, I feel that whole scene looked stupid at the time with like the weird, like extra lit soft focus shit.
Or like God rays, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, no, my note is it looks cheap.
It does. It's a bad.
No,
it's
that's a bad scene. That's just like, I think that was bad back then. I don't think.
Yeah.
Was that scene? Is that scene in the theatrical?
Yeah.
That is. I don't see. That's the problem. I haven't
I'm
watched the
pretty
theatrical
sure.
in years.
Yeah, because
It
that
must
was the
Otherwise,
opening scene for Return of the King.
Return of the
Oh,
King.
yeah.
Finding
okay.
the ring.
Yeah.
so
Oh
good
yeah,
as-
it is. Yeah, it is the very opening scene, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
the first scene of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I guess it's important because it shows how weak he was to the ring, and like it caught him immediately, and then he killed his cousin.
Yeah.
Well, both of them technically, because I mean, if
Yeah.
Smeagol didn't kill him, his cousin was definitely going to kill him.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
it just and because they're like hobbits too as well. They're like what they call them water folk, but I think
River
they're,
folk.
Yeah, River
I
Folk,
think-
yeah.
I think they're still technically
They're related
They're
to
related to
hobbits.
hobbits, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very interesting how it shows like Sam and Frodo being so strong, and then those two were just like immediately like, "Give me the ring!" Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna strangle you.
Well, yeah, it sort of sheds light on why Gandalf chose Frodo to do it, because he's obviously like
A unique.
he's not affected by it nearly as much as a lot of other people.
Yeah, he could resist
Other
it. Like he felt the pull, but he could definitely resist it until they got into like specifically Mordor. When they like just crossed that border, that's where it was like it took hold.
And anytime the Nazgul showed up.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's so interesting that he had it for like over a decade, and it's so interesting that it was in that envelope, and he didn't even get a call. Like he lived in that hobbit hole, and like he didn't even. So he's pretty impressive. The fact that he was able to resist it that long, and it wasn't until he started to put it on and started to get closer to Mordor that it really turned him.
Yeah.
But it also showed. I liked the scene where it. Well, I guess this goes back to Fellowship of the Ring, where it showed the effect it had on Bilbo. Because as soon as he like actually saw it and he was like, no, it's mine now, and he like, that flash of the like like it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe Bilbo shouldn't touch it anymore, just leave it over there.
And the fact that Bilbo had it for so long, and it that's also kind of impressive. I mean, their family obviously, so they have similar traits.
But I think it was because they're so far away. I think with Bilbo it was more about possessing it, like just like him knowing it was his. He didn't have to hold it, he didn't have to touch it all the time, but it was his and he had to have it. But if that ring like left his house or something and it wasn't with him, he would probably have gone nuts, right? Yeah,
like in the last scene of the movie where they're going out to the west, they're riding in the cart with Gandalf and Frodo and Bilbo's like sitting there next to Frodo, and he's like, hey, do you remember that ring that I gave you? Do you still have it? It's like, no, I lost it. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's such a shame. I would have loved to have held it just one last time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the power. It's still, even though it's gone.
Yeah.
It still holds
holding him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he hadn't touched it in a very, very, very long time. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So when Gandalf the White shows up, the makeover song from Clone High popped into my head.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, he got a facial, he got his hair did, and he has a new outfit. He looks so good. Makeover.
Excellent glow up.
Yeah, excellent glow up indeed. Yep. Like he didn't look horrible before, but he got the beard trimmed. It was nice and clean,
Yeah.
Definitely had like
polish.
Like
business Gandalf was ready to go.
He's about to hit up some honeys. But, my note about Legolas is always around with a forward brow making sexy faces. That's actually my note about Legolas.
I loved his character in the books, and obviously I think Orlando Bloom is incredibly foxy despite the goofy wig, but like he's basically a sexy lamp in most of the movies.
He is. He actually, yes, he does shoot a lot of things with his bow and arrow and stuff, but he doesn't say a lot of words, and he doesn't.
No,
he's usually just in the background, being like, "Yeah, I'm the help," or I'm the
looking into the distance, being pensive or whatever.
What the sweetest role though? He just gets to be pretty and then shoot some people, and then he just like majestically swoops away. It's like so, and then he became famous and rich because of these movies.
Yeah,
like,
but also apparently, like Orlando Bloom is an incredible archer in real life. Like he'd never picked up a bow before these movies, and they were like, we have to like make it look good. And like he did like a lot of his own work. They didn't have to have stunt doubles for a lot of it because he's just amazing. Like he'd just go out in a field and they would like toss crockery into the air and stuff, and he'd blow it into pieces. Like he had a real affinity for it. So
that's pretty sweet.
Actually, he and Viggo Mortensen, I think, did a lot of their own stunts. Viggo because he's stubborn, and Orlando Bloom because he's a really good archer.
Wasn't like one of them like Viggo or Sean Bean or something? There's a scene in a mountain where one of them refused to get into a helicopter, so he'd take the long way up every day, and it added like Bean. And it added like 4 hours to his day every day. Terrified or something like that. Yeah. Which I mean is acceptable, but at the same time, I'd be like, possible death, 4 hours.
Well,
are you just really that scared? I guess
it worked out. He's still kicking.
He is. Well, I mean, he's
Yeah.
dead in every movie, but
Yeah. Except I think he doesn't take roles where he dies anymore because he's sick of that.
Yeah. Like they're like, oh, we can get like really injured and I could be laid up or something, but I'm not dying anymore. Like, this is just not
so
okay.
funny. I never recognize him in movies until I realized because of the hair. I swear Lord of the Rings messed me up because they all have long, like flowing hair. And then I see them in like other movies. I'm like, I don't know what that is. But he's in a lot. So
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking over my notes.
No.
I was trying to find a song about Legolas, but it's not on Bandcamp, and I'm a little sad.
Oh yeah, there is a nerdcore song about Legolas, isn't there?
Oh, there's probably several.
I assume that's its own niche genre at this point.
I did love on I love Alex Trebek and everything, but it was like I think it was like 3 years, or it was even before he said he was sick. And they were talking, and some girl's part of like a nerdcore band, and he was like, I don't know what nerdcore is. And she explains it, and he's like, oh, you guys are a bunch of dorks. And there was such a backlash on him about it. And I was just like, why? It's fucking hilarious. Do you not understand the dry wit of Alex Trebek? This is what you get. Get over it. It was great. Such a good clip. I loved it. Yes. Oh, we miss him so much.
Yeah.
What else?
So the credits for the shortest movie are the longest.
Oh,
wait, for the first movie?
Yeah. So the first movie has 30 minutes of credits.
jeez.
I'm sorry, what?
The second movie has 20.
Oh,
And The Return of the King has 22 minutes.
oh my God.
insane.
What? Well,
Oh my God.
that seems like, I know they had like a lot of extras and stuff, but they also CGI'd in a lot of like, additional like crowds and all that kind of stuff. I guess like 19 minutes of it is probably like VFX people, I'm assuming, like
There's gonna be a good chunk in there, yeah.
like walls. It's like watching it, like if you actually watch the credits of like a Marvel movies, there's literally like 4 minutes of just walls of names for the VFX artists.
Yeah, just like 4 columns wide.
Yeah.
But also
5-point
like,
font.
yeah. But also like you were talking about how some of the like that one scene doesn't stand up, but also like so much of the effects that work they did was practical, or at least partly practical.
Mhm.
Right? Like that's, Weta Studios still does all that stuff, but like I think they were really making an effort to make sure it didn't look dated and terrible right away. And I think like generally speaking, they succeeded.
Oh yeah,
Like,
there's
all this set, like the bigatures are amazing. I was actually in New Zealand like a few years after these movies came out, and I saw like the exhibit in Wellington. They're amazing. Like Rivendell and stuff, like Gondor, like all this, they built them like tiny scale. And so now you don't have to worry about it all looking like green screen, because it actually wasn't. So
yeah, there's so many things that have come out within like the last 5-10 years that already look really dated because of that. They're just like, nah, we're not building anything. Everything's green screen, actor in front of it. But then like a year later, just like, that's clearly green screen. It's just not aging well.
yeah.
And a lot of companies are like, no, it'll be easier and cheaper if we do VFX. I'm like, VFX costs like 5 times more than building a background. Like, just
Right. And it just
put them in
doesn't
there.
hold up.
doesn't hold up. No.
I mean, obviously Lord of the Rings had like a budget of complete insanity because,
For its time.
if you're going to do it, you might as well do it. But yeah, no. And imagine how many like costume and prop people there were just to deal with like making all those like orc helmets and dressing all those people and like keeping them in line. Is it like
Chainmail.
so much, like so many costume pieces and props and so much like cat wrangling, getting all those extras going the same direction. Like, I can't even imagine.
Well, that's one thing I liked about it is like, yeah, you had these huge epic battles and stuff that have like thousands and thousands of people, but like they actually had like 500 extras.
Yeah.
So when you do have those scenes, it doesn't look like every other person is like a stamped copy of each other. It's like, no, it's a huge section. So your eye's not picking up on like duplications or anything because it's too wide for your eye to have to look at it. Whereas you watch like some other movies and you see a large crowd, you're like, oh, it's every 3 people. Gotcha.
Right. Or like there's 5 rows of people and the rest of it looks like a box of crayons. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, they totally avoided that. Also, I really loved what they did with the sound. I'm a nerd. But we were talking about this when we were watching the third one, that like when they have the orc armies and stuff and they're all like chanting and like it's like a big, deep, like scary sound, right? And you can't just produce that. Even the extras couldn't do it. So what they did was they took over the like stadium during one of the New Zealand rugby team games. And they got like, it was like a sold out crowd or whatever. And they just like, were like, hello, I'm Peter Jackson. We need you to like chant for us. So everyone who was at the game that day is like in the movie doing all the orc chanting and stuff, which I thought was
super cool.
That is
like,
very cool.
Where do you find a crowd that's already hyped and will just be like, yeah, we'll holler for you.
Yeah. Like, and you know, they're drunk. They're going to yell at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, it was like, they're just like, yeah, rugby hooligans. Here we go. So there's like an entire stadium of thousands of people doing all of that like background sound noise, which is like probably unnecessary, but also just like adds to the like layers of the movie and how like careful they were to make sure it was as cool as it could be. So
yeah, if that stadium's anything like, you know, the ACC or something like that, they got mics suspended all around for like, you know, measuring volumes and stuff, because they do like the stuff on the big TV where it's like make some noise, and then they have like the decibel meter and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's an open air stadium, but it's the New Zealand rugby team, and like the All Blacks are a big deal down there. So yeah,
I like it.
Anyway,
that's a good tidbit. I like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the music too, is like there's a motif like for most things. You got the horns and drums for the ROTK. You got the rings theme, which is like that one's prevalent like pretty much throughout the whole show.
That's the one that's like the flute or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Yep, that one.
Yep.
Oh my god, Zoom just popped up and it said, is there music playing? Set up professional audio in audio settings.
You're doing it right.
Nailed it.
Oh my god.
What other themes were there?
Those are the main two that stick out in my head. The
Arwen and Aragorn have one as well.
Yeah, Rohan has like a Celtic. Oh well, the Shire has a like upbeat Celtic theme.
Yeah.
And then Rohan also has maybe less Celtic, more
Norse?
Yeah, Norse. That's the word. Thank you.
Are you pointing north of Ireland? What's happening?
Yeah. Going like this way on the map.
Yeah.
I assume Gondor had one, but like you don't really spend too much time in Gondor, and when you are there, there's a giant ass battle happening. So I don't think there was really much of something there.
Right. And also you're there like when he's crowned, like there's a variation of the Arwen Aragorn theme, I think, not Gondor's theme. So yeah. But yeah, no, the soundtracks are incredible.
To be honest, the soundtrack of this was noticeable, but it did not stick out to me in any way, really. Like, I mean, I have like the main Shire theme in my head, or the, you know, that kind of stuff, but while watching it and stuff happening, like, yeah, when he blows the horn, I'm like, oh, it's a horn, ooh, it's a drum, but the music wasn't like, oh, like that's really good sound. I love the score of this, and you know, you really feel it. I was like, all right, sure. I'm horrible. I know. It's
to be honest, I often the first time I watch a movie don't really notice the score, which is super ironic given that I work in music. Anyway, but yeah, I couldn't like hum most of the specific themes, but I know them when I hear them, having seen these movies more than once. And also if you just like put on the thing, like the main theme out of nowhere, I will probably like start feeling a feeling and being like, wait, is this Lord of the Rings?
Like it's very distinct Lord of the Rings sound.
Yeah.
Like I think the films have a very distinct sound to them, which is great. Because there are definitely some like sci-fi and fantasy adventure films that lose something because they don't have their own feel to them, whereas these definitely have like a feel to it. But like with you, I cannot hum a song or anything from this. Be like, oh, what does that part sound like? It sounds like this. I can't do it. Like it's just not there. But if you play something, I'll be like, I think that's Lord of the Rings. It's fine. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much going on, like audibly and visually in this movie, that you could watch it 1,000 times. These movies, you could watch them 1,000 times and still be surprised by details, right? Like,
they definitely
one of the reasons they're so beautiful and they're so like they're enduring, because you can just
the world is not empty.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I find especially like epics like this, it's like there's no people anywhere unless it's the person that they're talking to, and you're like, this place is empty, like whatever. And it's like, but you're focusing on the story, and if the story is good, you don't notice it. But then later on you pay attention to more of it and stuff like that, and you're just like, why is there nobody in this world? Like, why is there nobody there? And it can be a little frustrating, but it usually has to do with like budgeting and making sure the scenes are smaller so you can do the fancy thing later on and all that kind of stuff. But they had the money. They're like, we're doing all of the things, and they did all of the things.
Well, like once the first movie was such a success, they just kind of did what they were going to do, and the studio was like, well, I guess this is happening. Because they're like, they got to sort of write their own ticket after Fellowship was like such a massive success, which is good because that, got us the movies that we have. But Peter Jackson, there's an interview with him where he talks about how he really wanted to premiere one of the movies in Wellington. So when the second one was released and he was doing press, there was some big, the studio set up some big press conference or whatever. And he just announced that they were going to premiere Return of the King at the whatever theater in Wellington. And the studio was just like, well, it's news to us, but I guess it's happening now. And it worked. They did.
Yeah.
So
it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, they're never gonna let me do it. So it's just like, this is happening. I'm Peter Jackson, and now I'm like Peter Jackson. So I'm doing it. I don't know. That makes me laugh.
So I do have one thing about these movies, because this movie and Return of the King, there's lots of battle sequences, and there's a lot of like talking to the soldiers, get them like ready for battle and stuff. And anytime I see scenes like that where it's like a dude in front of like 30,000 people and he's all just like, we are going to go forth and we are going to win, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, 10 people here heard what you said. I don't know what people are cheering about. Your speech was epic, but the guy in the third row was just like, what is he saying? Oh, are we going? Okay, I'll follow that guy. That's all that's happening.
I like the guy, the army from Rohan. They have the flag and they have the guys on the horses like going. So it's like nobody heard shit, but they all are like, yes, we're doing the thing.
Yeah, we realize.
Yeah, and then they had the horns to make sure.
Yes.
Yes. Those are not subtle.
No, not at all. No, I just think the epic speeches are funny because they're wasted on everybody. But
nobody can hear fuck all.
Yeah.
But, except us as the audience. Lucky us in the front row seat. But I don't know. I just love the Battle of Helm's Deep so much. Like that's why the second movie is my favorite. And like that feeling where like everything seems like, there's no way anyone is going to like live till morning or whatever. And then the elves show up. Like I remember seeing that in the theater and being like, and like seal clapping like a small child, just like, oh my God, they're not going to all die horribly. Like, obviously I'd read the books. I knew it was going to happen. And it was still like, it's still such a good moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's, even when you know what's going to happen, there's something about the visualization of the thing happening where you're just like, yes. It's happening. It's doing it.
And it happens twice too, because the elves show up first and then, they're whatever. And then when Gandalf shows up, like And even the characters knew that was supposed to happen, and still it was like, oh wow.
Well, I think they knew that was going to happen, but the sun hadn't risen yet, and until they saw the first rays of sun, they were just like, we're going to die, because they weren't sure how long.
Which is fair, because they were getting messed up. Like, the fortress was not going to hold as advertised, so like whatever. But I don't know, just like the like bursts of like hope and joy in that battle sequence, just like speak to my marshmallow heart. I don't know.
So you had said that you've changed your mind and you think Two Towers is your favorite movie. Now, is it because of these bursts of hope, or is it because of like something else or overall in them why you changed your opinion?
What? Jess is the one who changed her opinion on that.
So
no, it's okay. Yeah, no, I didn't. It wasn't really until the last two watches that I just really enjoyed. I just really enjoyed seeing Merry and Pippin go off, and I like that these trees and these two hobbits took down
Isengard.
Thank you. Saruman. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that's one of my favorite. And yes, I do actually really enjoy the battle scene that you were talking about, because I think the third movie always, there's like we forgot about
about a whole battle.
We forgot about a battle. The like end where they go to Mordor, and I was like, you were like, no, because I was like, no, there's another battle, and you were like, no, there's not. And I was like,
final battle.
There is.
Gondor. Like, no, wait. There's a
they
whole
go and
one.
see the creepy guard of Mordor.
They go fight at the Black Gate. Yeah.
Yes. And the guy has no eyes. Do you remember him?
Yeah. The scary helmet. And then they just
he has no lips either. You like shoot off his lips or whatever.
To your point about how nobody hears the speeches, I think it's Gimli who like they like chop the guy's head off, and he's like, well, I guess negotiations are over.
Like, no, you just realize that like he has probably no idea what's going on. He's just like, I'm ready and waiting, and it's like, oh yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay, yep, thanks, Aragon, we're doing it. But yeah,
was that guy that they like parlay with? Was he in the standard edition? Because I don't remember him.
No,
I don't either.
I haven't seen those since so long. Like, I don't know.
I don't remember him.
He must have been though, right? Like, how else does that scene hang together?
Yeah.
Do they just stand outside and like, I don't know.
I feel like the scene is just cut, and then you see like Aragorn and them riding back to the army, and then it's just like then the gates open and the orcs come out.
So it's more like they show up and the orc army is just like, we're gonna fuck you up, compared to they show up, there's a parlay, and then they've killed the messenger, so then the army comes out.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Okay.
That's at least that's how I remember it. I could be very mistaken.
It seems likely, but I don't know.
I've always had a hard time with the third movie because it just goes on forever.
Because it's like 3 movies smushed into one.
It is, and you're like, oh, the battles won the rain. Then you're like, there's still another half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's like a good hour after that. Like, it's nonsense. No, because so I too forgot about that battle, because I thought the battle with like the giant elephants and the
I
thought that was like
the final battle, but
I thought that was final battle as well. And I was just like, and I was sitting there going like, oh, but they haven't dropped the ring in the thing yet. Is this the part where it gets like super boring and I get frustrated by this? I'm like, okay, not quite, but pretty close. And then they're just like, oh, we're going to distract the eye. And I was like, all right. I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that like the guard of Mordor, like that's the first time we see him, isn't it? Like, it's just suddenly there's just huge dude with no eyes. And I'm like, where did you come from?
Well, I think we haven't, like, we've been in Mordor where the orcs are being birthed and all that kind of stuff, but we haven't been like, in the ranks of Mordor, like,
just
so,
in the tower with Sam and Frodo, and like,
so when we get there and somebody's at the gate, it's kind of expected somebody's at the gate, but there would have been no reason for you to meet him before that.
I know.
I I mean, apart from having forgotten that battle entirely, once it started, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how they immediately are surrounded. And I was just like, again, even though I know exactly what happens because I've seen and read the books and like whatever, I was just like clutching my pillow, like, this is not good. Like flanked on all sides.
Yes.
I had like a physical reaction where I was just like, oh no. So yeah.
Okay, since we're already talking about Return of the King, I have a problem with part of the battle at Gondor.
Gondor?
Yes.
Minus Drith. The White City.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. You're saying words at me, and I'm like, I don't know what those mean. The White City. Yes. So there is a scene where the orcs make it to the wall. The backup hasn't shown up yet, but the orcs cannot get that fucking gate down, and they're like ramming it. And what did they yell for? They yell for the wolf's head.
The ram's head.
It's a wolf's head.
The wolf's head.
It's the wolf's head.
It is a wolf's head, but they call it something because it's a battering ram, right?
Yeah.
I'm
pretty sure they called it the wolf.
And it looks like a boar also.
No, it looks like a wolf.
Does it? It looked like a boar to me.
Like it looks like a wolf lying down. He's got fire in his mouth and stuff. Got like a turned up nose.
I think the turned up nose is what's making me think that it's
a boar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very metal, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm like 98% sure it's called the wolf's head. Anyway, I don't even know why I can't find my note. I knew I wrote it down somewhere.
Okay.
But anyway, so my note about it is you have an orc army, right? And you have Saruman and Sauron. And everything up until that point is not adorned with anything. It looks like scraps of stuff put together. Even like the ram they're using is just like a tree with like some metal shoved at the end, right? And then all of a sudden they have this ornately created, beautiful metalwork thing that they have brought with them to ram this door. And I'm just like, whoever designed this had nothing to do with the creation of anything to do with the orcs until they're like, hey, draw us this thing. And I was so frustrated. I don't understand why, but if you have a group of people who clearly have no care for aesthetics or want, and they just create things built out of necessity using scraps and things they pick up along the way, they're not going to stop and make a beautifully intricate metalwork ram thing to ram a door. It makes no sense, and it makes me angry.
I mean, they did make it. I don't know. I was gonna say they probably just stole it from somebody else, but I don't know.
It could have also like possibly come from the south, where I feel like they're a little more into the arts and crafts.
But they do those.
It is called the Wolf's Head. Long had it been forging in the dark smithies of Mordor, according to the one wiki to rule them all.
So to me, like, even if it had been forging for a long time, I think it would just be a giant metal rod, not, like the way they have it in the, like this thing is a crouching wolf, that's got like cool eyes and cool teeth, and you can see like swirls of the fur going along the sides of it, and it's got like feet with claws, and like it is very intricately done. It just does not make sense in the aesthetic. And I have no idea why, but I started like screaming at this. What is this? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why is this thing here? Because like if it was part of like the Gondor army or something like that, it would make sense, because if you see their clothes, they're gilded, they're adorned, blah, blah. It would make sense for them to make something like this. But the army for Mordor makes no sense at all. This is why design and creation of these things are so important, because it has to make sense, and it doesn't. And
I mean, obviously I'm not a designer of Mordor, but like I would assume that the creation of that well predates the creation of the army that's standing in front of it. Like the war thing kind of took them by surprise as well. Like Mordor wasn't actively attacking Gondor until they realized that they were about to lose possession of the ring, right? Like, and all those scenes of like orcs bubbling out of pods, like they really like stepped up production and were just like throwing guys at the front line as cannon fodder effectively, right? So obviously they're not going to have like fancy Praetorian Guard outfits or whatever if you just like yanked them out of a puddle of ooze and shoved them into the path of a cannon. So like Mordor wasn't trying to put together an army. They were just like trying to roll with what was happening, whereas a big weapon like that obviously would have been under construction for a long time. And if the purpose was as a battering ram, but also the purpose is to scare the absolute stuffing out of anyone who sees it, right? Who's not on your side.
But to be honest, like anything that size coming through a door, whether it has a face or not, would have been scary.
Oh, but it doesn't even have to get to the door. Like, I don't know about you. I wasn't in Gondor and I was looking at that thing 50 feet out and being like, whoop, oh no.
Like, I mean, you're not wrong.
Elephants too.
Right? Like, I'm sure that they have encountered people who were just like, everybody open the gate and run for it, like down the tunnels, let them take it. Cause it's a snarling wolf's head battering ram full of fire. That's fucking terrifying.
All I'm saying is the designers should have just rethought it slightly.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
I
don't understand
history. I found that it's like it's in the book, and that's why it's included it. But yeah,
it's probably something I have to read like 4 books to understand why it was created that way.
Yeah, probably. You have to do a lot of homework on questions like that, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
but also it would be kind of sad, like visually, if somebody with a big log knocked down Minas Tirith.
Well, I mean, that's
something to match the grandeur of the city.
But I was thinking more along the lines of like, so the wolf's head is fully made of metal, right? But if they didn't do all that intricate, it could have just been like a gigantic, solid piece of metal that would have done exactly the same thing. But even if it looked like a wolf's head, but wasn't so ornate or precisely done, like even if it looked like it was like they just like dripped metal on it and it kind of looks like a wolf, it would make more sense. But it was just so ornate and so carefully crafted, it just looked overly done for the society and the people that they've shown, or people in quotation marks, that they've shown that is Mordor, right? It just didn't make sense in that space to me.
The Metalworkers Union of Mordor has a real stranglehold on the local economy, apparently.
Maybe that's why everybody else looked like they had scraps, because everything was going into the wolf's head there. Yeah, totally get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, well, you're entitled to your pet peeve. I think that's a particularly weird one, but that's just my opinion. No.
I don't understand. It just threw me off.
I also have a mild gripe with that scene.
Oh yes.
So earlier in the show, they show the main gate opening and closing, and they got these chains running through it that drop like pegs into the ground, so that the bottom of the door doesn't give way when it is getting rammed.
Yeah. So
then they bring in the wolf's head, and the wolf's head's a lot higher up, so it can break the upper portion. But as soon as they break through the upper portion, the doors just swing open at the bottom. So
like that's
my pet peeve from that scene.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
That's sloppy. I've never noticed, but that is sloppy.
But I'm sorry. But that's not the only sloppy thing. That's not the only sloppy thing that they've done, because so this is not at the. No, it is actually happening during the battle, isn't it? Where the dude's trying to burn his son and
oh my God.
He gets set on fire or whatever. But he gets set on fire. And the distance he has to run from the doors of where he's burning to jump over the edge, I'm like, either he would have put himself out running that far, or he would have died 10 steps out the door. Like that is,
Yeah.
and also from the way they cut it, he got there real fast. Like really, really
Also,
fast.
I'm pretty sure there's a pool of water between the door and the cliff. I'm pretty sure there's a pool of water there where the tree is.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reflecting pool.
So
yeah, that whole scene was a little hinky because I mean, yeah, as you say, he was like drenched in kerosene or whatever, but also, yeah, he would have like either died
or he would have jumped in the pool that's right there to wash himself off.
I mean, he was pretty determined to go kamikaze, given that he just about toasted his son for no reason. So, you know,
yeah, he had some major mental health issues.
He sure did.
Sure. He was the worst. I'm sorry.
Oh,
he was the worst.
Who was it? Somebody kept saying it's like, oh, Gandalf told when he was like leaving the city, and he was like, you know, don't leave. You're gonna just get you and your fellow soldiers killed or whatever. When sends him back out, and he was just like, he's like, your father loves you. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, no.
No. This man is trying to get
that
you
whole
killed.
scene
Ignore
pissed
him.
me off. I felt bad for the
Faramir.
Yes.
So like, dude, your father's nuts. Just stop trying to get his approval. It ain't happening.
Seriously.
Like,
give up and move on. That guy is batshit
like,
crazy.
He's nuts at that point. He's lost his plot.
And also though, like, it impressed me that, like, this is like a total weird aside, but Boromir and Faramir were obviously very close, and like they got along and they loved each other and they had like a solid relationship, which, considering who their father was and what he was like, is like absolutely shocking. So like a lot of what we see of Boromir is him giving into weakness, but it sounds like under normal circumstances he was actually like incredibly well adjusted and loving. So sorry about your life, buddy, and even sorrier about your death and how it came about, because he seemed like he was like pretty good people.
So Boromir was Sean Bean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I must admit, when they did show the one scene before Boromir had left for the ring thing and whatever, and it showed them together, and he was like, "No, you know, Faramir." I can always
Faramir.
Yeah. And he was all like, "No, it's your victory." Blah blah blah. He was bolstering his brother, and then dad shows up, and he like goes to the dad. And he's like, "No, this is Faramir's fight," and like the dad was an asshole. But Boromir also didn't defend his brother after his dad started being an asshole. Like he was just like, "Hey, check this out." He's like, I disagree. And he's just like,
Well, that's how that kind of shitty family dynamic tends to work. But like Faramir and Boromir were obviously solid. It was their father who was the problem, right? Like
probably maybe tried that before and didn't get anywhere. So he's just like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
Made no sense.
Also, clearly he respected and loved his father, which is strange.
Yeah.
Daddy is a bit too obsessed with you.
That
and
guy?
Not a good leader.
Oh my God.
Leader.
Nutcase, obviously.
No.
Those tomatoes were very messy.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, why? I just forgot about that.
And the poor him having to sing while he's like, like, oh God. Yeah, that was another one where I was like hiding behind my cushion for an entirely different reason. Just like
I have obviously forgotten something. Obviously. And I'm not sure I want you to explain it to me. I don't
know.
He sends his only remaining son to his death, basically, and then sits down for lunch and is just like,
oh, what he's eating. Yes.
Yeah. And he's got like the tomato juice. Oh, it's so gross. So gross. It's awful.
Okay, yes.
Everything about that man is repulsive. Like, except for his fur coat, I don't think there's one redeeming thing about him. He's a weasel. He's weak. He's obsessed and
awful parent.
Awful.
He's actually more how I pictured the king of Rohan to be well under the influence of Wormtongue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but he just more seemed like he was like shut down compared to
dusty, like literally and figuratively.
Dusty.
But he was so pet. He was dusty.
He was dusty. Crusty and
crusty. Yeah.
It was crusty. It was really gross.
It was.
He was taken over. I don't know.
Yeah.
Evil.
That was nuts.
By Worm Man.
Wormtongue.
So my question about that, so like, I know the Wormtongue is from Saruman, but how was he able to infect or take him over? Was it because of the other dude?
I think that was something from the movies, because I don't think it was like Wormtongue was definitely like working for Saruman, and in my memory of the books, he more so just poisons the king's mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. I thought Wormtongue was the spell, but Wormtongue is the name of the dude?
Is the guy.
Yeah, the worm dude. He literally has a name.
His name is Grimo Wormtongue.
Yeah.
I assume that was not the surname with which he was born, but that is how he was referred
He
to in Rohan.
spews fake
Because
madness.
he's
trouble.
Okay.
yeah.
A couple of things have gone bing in my brain all of a sudden. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that fight when when Gandalf walks in and like smacks him on the head and like pushes him up on the chair with magic or whatever, and he's like exorcising Saruman from him. Like I'm pretty confident that wasn't in the books. It was Wormtongue speaking lies into the king's ear, and then the king acting on that information. So he expels the one guy from the kingdom, and all that stuff. And then once Gandalf shows up and they get rid of Wormtongue, then that's when the king starts to become more healthy and actually do kingly things the proper way, type thing, as opposed to the exorcism that happened in the movies.
Yeah, because he gets better in 3 seconds.
Well, I think they lead you to believe there's some magic there. And I think maybe that's to make the king look a bit more redeemable in the movie. Because then we would have been like, oh, he's just a shitty king that let this slimy asshole talk him to his nephew, kick his nephew out of the kingdom, right? That's essentially it. So,
but also, because his son dies and he doesn't react.
React. I think they chose. I think Peter Jackson chose to do that just to make him a bit more redeemable.
Yeah, he's much more sympathetic.
He's sympathetic. Yeah, that if he was under an actual spell, an actual magic, I guess.
Yeah. I guess that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because you can kind of tell from what happens afterwards, where he's convinced that Gondor won't help them and he doesn't want to light the beacons, and he's like, oh, we'll be fine, it helps you. You can tell that he's he doesn't want to go along with what Gandalf wants, and that he has serious doubts about the whole thing, but eventually he does make the right choice. But you can sort of see how somebody would be able to get him going in the wrong direction, because he's already sort of listing that way himself.
Which is fair. It's fair, because look who's at Gondor, right? I wouldn't have much faith in that dude either.
That is a good point.
They obviously, as leaders of each kingdom, they know each other. So it's probably oh God, he's never gonna come to our defense. He's illegal.
Yeah. Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell?
Right. Yeah. Sorry, not light the beacon. Yeah. No, he was. Yeah. I'm mixing the two up, but he didn't have a lot of faith. And as you say, that's fair. Denethor is a nightmare. So,
yeah.
And doesn't trouble to hide it.
Yeah. Burning your own son alive. That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
And he didn't seem to realize he was alive at first. So but then he didn't pull back on the plan when it was pointed out to him. So
no, he was
double.
Who didn't see who was alive at first?
When Denethor is building the funeral pyre for Faramir, who's not dead.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I think he is dead already. And then
I wonder if
then it's pointed out to him that he's still alive. And he's like, well, we got this far.
No, and there's also a part where he looks down and he's moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I actually think it has more to do with the fact that he hates him so much that he's like, I'm not leaving this shit to you. If I'm going to die, you're going to die.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I also wonder if it's a bit to do that, he was clearly confusing him with Boromir. He was actually delusional. And that, so he was so convinced because Boromir was dead. I wonder if that played a bit into it. I don't know if I'm just reaching.
He was mixing them
up. He was just because at first he thought his son was alive. Remember at that, he
he sees them in the background or whatever. Yeah.
He's just so in love with his one son that he's the best end all be all in the world. The other one who's just perfectly like capable is right there.
Faramir's delightful.
Yeah.
He is, yeah.
I
I kept
wonder
talking and I kept thinking about 300 because there's also like there's also a scene in, is it in in Return of the King where they're like, well, who's ever heard of 300 people? It's just 300 of us holding back 10,000 of them. And I was just like, you're from 300 and you're saying this out loud in this movie. I'm just like, okay, we get it. But did 300? No, 300 came out after this, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, I was still
that
like,
was funny. Yeah. How it
it kind of went together kind of thing. So yes.
Cute.
Also, it just occurred to me because I pulled up like the actor list for Two Towers and Worm Tongue was, I saw his regular picture and I was like, he was in Star Trek. He was in Voyager. There you go. There's another person. Gotcha.
There you go.
Sorry. I had to do it.
Excellent.
But there's no way it's just Carl Urban. I was like, there's such a large cast.
There's such a large cast. Yeah.
It has to be crossover somewhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's probably tons. I was just so uninterested in paying attention, even though like I had to like fight myself to like watch it. And I was just like, but even in some of the big battle sequences, like I found they're so long and so continuous that I found it uninteresting. But there were also battle sequences that they didn't show that I'm like, why didn't you show a piece of this battle sequence, for example? Like, because you know when they go up in the mountains and they get like the dead army to join, and then they stop the ships, and they take over. Yeah. Like, I really kind of wish we saw a little bit of that, because all you saw was like charge, and then that was it. And I was like, oh, I want to see, what the ships are like, or like,
I want to see this,
whatever,
screaming like little girls as they get overrun by ghosts.
I assume it would just be screaming.
And that would have been fine, but I just wanted to see like a little bit of it, you know what I mean? Compared to like the Hoth battle going on, which is like they showed the whole thing. And I was just like, just get the legs. Just get the legs.
I wanted the dead army to come faster. There was a point there where I was like, this is going on. I know he's going to come with the dead army. Yeah. Can we get there? And I assume that's more the extended edition, just to be like, I know it's coming and this is feeling tedious.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's tough when when you actually know what's happening, but you expect it, like it gives you expectations. So then it feels like a longer movie if you think like a battle's about to happen and then you have to like wait through half an hour of whatever.
Yes. Yeah. It can be
I mean, I don't mind. I love them, but I can see how sometimes that can mess you up. If you're not familiar enough that you know like where you are in the story exactly. Mm-hmm. I kept expecting the next scene to be the one with the big spider, and then like 2 hours later she showed up and I was like,
I also forgot about the big spider. And then the spider showed up and I was like, oh, spider.
I don't watch that scene.
I was waiting for that scene to happen for so long.
Yeah.
I think the extended edition has a bigger fight with Sam in it.
Yes. So when the thing takes down Frodo and Sam finds him, the spider comes back out and they have like a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, no, and then he finds like the light thing or whatever, and like he like gets it back or whatever, and he stabs it in like the abdomen, and it's all like ow, and then orcs show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a whole mess.
Yeah, I don't watch that scene. I don't like spiders.
Yeah. I actually like. I was sitting there going. I was like, I thought for some reason I was looking at it. I was like, I thought this was in Harry Potter. I don't. Is there a spider in Harry Potter?
Oh, there's the whole village of them in the forest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aragorn. What's his name? What's the spider name?
Neither of those that you just said.
Shelob?
No. In Harry Potter,
there's
a spider with an A name that sounds like art. Anyway, whatever.
Anyway, you're not wrong. They're big spiders and they're everywhere.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. I was a little confused. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, there's the ending that just never ends in this movie.
I guess so.
Just like,
I feel like the spider scene was another time where I was just like hollering at the screen, just like, Sam, your situational awareness is for shit. Look over your shoulder. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Check your six, bro.
I must admit the scene where Frodo gets like stabbed in the stomach by the spider, that scene specifically, when he turns around and you hear like you don't even see it go in, you just hear like a very wet, like, kind of sound. Like all I can think was just like, oh my god, that must hurt so much is all I could think. But then also there's a thing where some spiders, when they do sting you like that and like they've captured you, the poison and it's also an enzyme being injected into you, so it starts dissolving your insides. And I was like, that would have been fun. Yes. I don't know.
No.
Your idea of fun and mine are very different.
Yeah, because what happens is, so their insides get dissolved and literally the spider just like sucks it all out like a nice peep of soup.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Why do you know
that?
Usually spiders are really small, and this happens to like flies and gnats. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes. And I have random general knowledge for no reason. It happens.
It's not your fault. I accidentally watched Arachnophobia as a 7-year-old and have carried this trauma with me into adulthood. So it's not your fault, Tracy.
I honestly think I got arachnophobia from watching Arachnophobia.
No, honestly, I hid downstairs and watched it. My mom caught me and I had nightmares for weeks. She told me after. I don't remember this. And she was like, you've been terrified ever since. And I'm like, and I've owned snakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've had every animal under the sun, but spiders, I used to sell tarantulas. I don't like them. So
yeah.
Trauma.
Yeah. I'm not a huge, I don't mind bugs as long as they don't touch me. Just don't touch me.
More than 4 legs, less than 1, don't trust it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with them usually individually. It's the large quantities that freak me out.
That freak you out, yeah.
Yeah. So
like if you saw one spider
in the house, I'll kill it. But if like I see like a massive hill of ants like coming, they'll be like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't freak out unless they touch me.
I don't care about bugs, but I don't like being outnumbered. Also, I'm like catnip for mosquitoes, so sometimes I have like shrieking freakouts when they surround my head.
Too.
I've been on some interesting hikes.
They do. I'm like over here being like, I'm cool, and you're like, and I'm like, they really like you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I once got so many mosquito bites while sitting next to a group of people. I was the only one bitten, and I got so many mosquito bites I had an allergic reaction.
Yeah. They love people, crazy. Some people.
Yeah.
Can't be.
I've never had an actual allergic reaction, but yeah, I've gotten pretty close. Like I have like welts. It's
it's unpleasant. And that's also how I discovered there's something called skin ulcers. Those aren't fun either. Don't get that. Also, don't look up pictures. It's really viscous.
That's the second time you've used that word today, and I would like to request that there is not a third.
Okay, fine. They're very moist. Is that better?
No, not better.
Oh, why would you do that?
Lateral move at best. You are the worst.
You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. So any more I don't know, comments about these movies? Because I don't want to talk about the 35 endings.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I counted 5 distinct endings.
Okay.
So there was the Eagles at Mount Doom.
Yeah.
There was Frodo wakes up in Rivendell.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Aragorn getting crowned king.
Yeah.
The return home, and then I have in parentheses, these 3 movies were only 13 months. And then Journey into the West. And a sub note there that Gandalf has his white staff back that the Nazgul shattered.
Oh,
which also doesn't make any sense.
You think he regenerated it? How does that work?
Yeah, he probably just made a new one or whatever.
Yeah.
He might have taken one from the Tower of Isengard as well.
Oh, that's true, because the Tower of Isengard has like
Saruman has been thoroughly evicted, and he was Gandalf's mentor, right? So
yeah, but he also had like staves from like the Seven Wizards or something like that.
Yeah. He probably pulled it out of the archives in Isengard.
That was like many months too. So he had definitely had a chance to go on a mission to find himself a new staff. So
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, that's 5 endings. You're right. 5 chances. And then they just kept going.
Mhm. Yeah, every time the scene faded to black, I was like, oh God, it's back.
Yeah, no, they don't, yeah.
Because the worst part is not, they don't just like cut, right? And they they fade and you're like, oh, it's over. And then, it comes back and you're just like, why? Why are you doing this?
The only one that really got me, because I've seen it before, is while they're still at Mount Doom, like they escape Mount Doom and then they jump onto like a rock that's, evading a lava flow.
Mm-hmm.
And Frodo and Sam, they have like a nice little conversation. It's like, okay, great, job's done. Good job, everyone. And then it fades to black.
Yeah.
And then it fades back in and it's like a slightly further out shot. And that's when the eagles come.
Mm-hmm.
That one got me. I completely forgot about that one.
To be honest, I blinked at that point.
Mhm.
Blink as in I was picking up my phone looking at some shit. And then all of a sudden it did a fade in and he was in the bed with the elves or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the fuck did he get there? I'm like, is there a thing with it? I'm not rewinding. I'm just gonna.
There was a little bit of Deus Ex Machina in that particular transition. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's actually that reminds me. I think Elijah Wood tweeted like somebody was complaining about air travel or whatever, and Elijah was just like, the people at the gate have no control of when the plane arrives. Why are you getting angry at them? And then somebody replied and it was like, let's be fair, you've been pretty privileged with air travel. And then it's this shot of Mount Doom with the eagle.
Man, that's pretty good.
That's delightful.
Yeah.
I do have to admit, when he does wake up in bed and whatever, and I know it's supposed to be a joyous moment and stuff, and that's why him and Gandalf start laughing and whatever, but that comes off real creepy. It made me really,
That
really
seems a bit
uncomfortable.
Bananas.
Yeah.
They
Because,
didn't want
like-
any dialogue, so instead it like turns into a
weird giggle
fest?
party giggle fest.
But
Yeah.
like when Merry and Pippin show up and they're like, "Oh my God, you're awake!" and they jump and they're laughing and they're chitter chatting to each other. I'm like, that makes sense. But that Gandalf Frodo laughing thing, I'm just like, it's more like when something horrible is happening to you and you start laughing, this manic laugh of like, everything's gonna be okay. Like that's what it came across as.
Yeah.
And it was very uncomfortable.
Both spent quite a while thinking the other one was dead. So I could see that the first time they were face to face, they might have some big feelings. They don't quite know how
Yeah,
to
that's true, because like that's the first time that Frodo and Gandalf see each other since partway through the first movie.
Yeah.
Frodo watched Gandalf die.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he wakes up somewhere he doesn't expect, and there's Gandalf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And Gandalf spent a lot of time thinking that the quest had failed and Frodo was dead. So like, or about to be hideously murdered. So
Well, I think it has more to do with they knew that Frodo was in Mount Doom when it started going nuts. And so when it blew up, they assumed he
went with it.
Like they knew when that happened that means he got rid of the ring. Therefore, he was alive. But then when it blew up, you're like, oh yeah, that part of it. Okay, that's not good.
no.
Yeah. So yeah, but the laughing was still really creepy. Like it made me like really uncomfortable.
It is a bit. Yeah. It is a lot.
And the other thing that really bothered me when Frodo closes his book, he's finished writing the Lord of the Rings. And then Sam's like, "So you're finished?" He's like, "There's room for a little bit more." Is there? No, we are done. Done. It's over. Just leave it. God.
Well, he does say a little later when they're at the docks that like the final pages are for you, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what that means.
I
But-
assume that Sam will document that he went to the
Yeah. Well, and also Sam becomes the mayor of the Shire, doesn't he?
That's
He
But I also think like there has to be like some books in the series that take place in that area that is Sam writing it, I guess, right? Because like essentially these books are just memoirs of Bilbo and Frodo. So the last part will be a memoir of Sam's, I guess.
Yeah. Or just him documenting Frodo leaving Middle Earth, right?
Yeah, he could.
Yeah. But that's why I think like in like quote unquote our real world, not in the book world, there's got to be like a in the books that take place in Middle Earth, one of them is like Sam's book of stuff or whatever.
Who knows?
Yeah, I haven't read any of them, so I have no idea. And unless they make a movie about it, because I am the most horrible person ever, I will pay to watch these, so I can probably bitch about it.
Yeah.
Well,
at least you observe the source material before you decide you hate it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna make some kind of snide comment, so you can continue. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I was gonna yank us off the path again, so I don't know.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really crazy is like I get why they did it, but also it sort of makes me like a little bit nuts is the like very variable accent action that happens in these films.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the orcs have English accents.
Yeah. And like even the main characters, like some like, you know, whatever, like Pippin still sounds kind of Scottish, but like Sean Bean is from Yorkshire and he does not sound like that. Like some of them are doing accents and some of them aren't. And sometimes Aragorn sounds like he's got the generic Middle Earth accent and sometimes he gets so American. Like it's interesting. I think that's part of the reason that people, and to be clear, I am people, sometimes have trouble with the names because every different person who says it says something completely different.
Yeah. Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's just something that I am sort of thinking about this movie of like, yeah, like, I don't know. And, like, Arwen has a weird accent. She doesn't sound like the other elves, but like she doesn't sound like Liv Tyler either. So she was obviously doing it on purpose, but like
why?
Yeah. I don't know.
And that's the thing. Like I think if certain groups of people sounded the same, you could be like, oh, people from Rohan sound like this, and people from Gondor sound like this, and people from the Shire sound like this. But it doesn't really come up because like even with like Bilbo sounds British. But the kid he's grown up with, Frodo, sounds kind of American with an English lilt every once in a while. You're like, okay.
All of the hobbits kind of sound different.
Yeah,
like,
and they've never left the Shire, so they should all sound the same.
Yeah, they should all have the same base accent.
Yeah,
and
well,
like,
I guess this is the same problem. Like, movies like what's it called? How to Train Your Dragon is a very good point of this because for some reason all of the parents sound Britishy / Scottishy. Mm-hmm. There's no pinpointing what accent that's supposed to be. There's not. But then all the kids sound American and you're just like, this doesn't make any sense. And it's super frustrating. But I have a feeling it just goes back to the people making the movie. They got the actors in and they're like, can you do this kind of accent? And the people doing the kids were just like, that sounds horrible. And they're just like, you know, just talk like you and just we'll let it happen, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's what happens with a lot of movies like this, where you're just like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing exactly? Even if like Game of Thrones was that way. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because they're not shooting for a specific accent because it's not historical, because it's not real, right? Mm-hmm. So like it's not like, okay, this is set in this county in England, so everybody needs this English accent. It's just like there's like a generic Middle Earth accent that they mostly stick to. And like Boromir and Faramir and Denethor all sound like they're from the same place. And like the folks from Rohan mostly do, although she sounds like a bit weird, but I think that's just the way she talks. Like But yeah, the hobbits all sound radically different. And like, Aragorn, there were a few moments where I was just like, the American nasal nonsense, please.
But is it because Aragorn is a writer and he just goes all over the place? So maybe his accent is kind of messed up.
Yeah. I wonder if he was doing it on purpose. I don't know, because because he's older.
He grew up with elves too.
That's true.
That's the thing is, like, I feel like when he's with Arwen, his accent goes into the more like generic Middle Earthy thing they have going on, but then other times, so like maybe that's why when he's with the elves, he sounds more like that. But it just, I don't know. There were a few moments that stood out.
I wonder if he tried to do that on purpose and
maybe
it worked. Maybe
I mean, it seems like a big thing to have just like slipped by. So there must have been some rationale behind it. It's just I found it a little bit jarring.
I didn't know. I
agree with you.
You pointed it out. Like, oh, okay.
But the hobbits in particular all sound totally different. So like, I don't know. I found that weird.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just kind of go with it. So I think this is a good time to be final thoughts on these things. Alex, you want to start? What are your final thoughts on these movies?
Yeah.
A++ would watch again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love
these lying. Movies.
I know. I get why you, as I said, after watching The Hobbit, I get why somebody wouldn't, but I still love them and they still hold up for me just as well as when I watched them in the theater. So I love that about them. And I love that there's just so much of them that I can be interested in something different every time I watch them. So also I feel like I should rewatch the special features because they're so good and there's so much.
Watched that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I haven't. I don't think I have.
There's some really good stuff in there. Like there's whole, hour-long videos about like the sound design and stuff, which sounds like the most boring thing. And you can stop making that face, but like, but it's fascinating. The sound they use for the Nazgul is a cheese grater on a string that they swung around like a lasso because somebody in the sound department was fucking around and was like, that's a cool noise. I wonder what we can use it for.
The Nazgul is a dragon thing, right?
Yeah.
Also something that died way too easily. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was a bit disappointed in that. And I was like, come on, it shouldn't be that easy.
I mean, they never usually get close to enemies. So
are the Nazgul the dragons that they ride, or are they the wraiths themselves?
We had a debate about this. I think we decided the Nazgul are the creatures and the ring wraiths are the
because at one point in time where the part where the Nazgul dies, the dude riding it was like, never get between a Nazgul and his meal. He says it. So that's why I wrote down that thing is the Nazgul. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the shrieky dragon beasts are the Nazgul. But anyway.
Foley is fun.
Yeah.
Foley is fun.
Anyway, but yeah, so so perhaps I will take a little dive through the special features again because there's so much, like the craft that came out of these movies, like What If Studios and everything, like the entire film industry of New Zealand was revolutionized. Like pictures became a thing that people use. Like it's revolutionary in a variety of ways and I'm all about it.
I'm just going to say revolutionary doesn't always make it good. So anyways, Jessica, what are your thoughts?
I like every time, Tracy, you just like to shank in just a little comment about it. I'm obviously very in favor of these movies. I love them. And I agree with how like every time I watch it, I learn something new or focus on something new. I keep saying to her, I've only ever read The Hobbit and the first book. So I've actually not read the full trilogy. And I feel that I need to do that. So I'm thinking in August when I have time, I'm going to do that. So I said that during like the beginning of COVID and I never did. And I really want to.
There's a set sitting on our coffee table right now.
She did. She brought out the set in case we had to reference a map.
It's like totally blanked on every name.
I was like, okay. So yeah, I'm going to do that.
You should. I can't believe you read the first book, but not the other two.
You know what? I was a teenager when they came out and I actually watched the first movie first and then I got obsessed with it. And that's why I read the first book. Cause I was like, I had to wait for the second movie and then I just got busy with life and I didn't follow up, which my brother was probably horrified. He had the book, so I could have done it, but
Tisk.
Yeah, it's okay.
Tim, what are your final thoughts on these?
So I enjoy the movies and I enjoyed them back when they first came out. It was a nice birthday present for me every year for 3 years. yeah, it's not something that I would go back and watch again with any sort of frequency. Unless like, I don't know, maybe if you were like doing like a watch party or something like that, and you throw on the extended edition for like 3.5 hours and like people are allowed to talk over it. I feel like that'd be a fun setting, because then other people can like point out stuff that's happening in the movie and that sort of thing. Overall good. And I'm also gonna quote Clerks 2 here. Those fucking Hobbit movies were boring as hell. All it was a bunch of people walking. 3 movies of people walking to a fucking volcano. Here's the first movie. And the second movie. Are you ready for the third?
Yes, I think Randall's an asshole, but he was completely right when he said it. So yeah, it's fine. Speaking of that, my thoughts, as I said, I agree with Randall. So boring, unnecessary. It could have been better if all of these movies were half as long as they were, because there's just so much unnecessary stuff in it. And I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most. Also just mentioned something about learning things every time. I learned that these are not just regular catapults in this, though, that end sequence. They're actually trebuchet. I accidentally learned that yesterday while watching that, and then later on I watched an episode of Elementary where he was tracking somebody down who was using a trebuchet, and I was like, what the fuck? Connection. So I learned new things. But yeah, I really hope I don't ever watch these movies again. And if I do, a watch party, like Tim said, would be fine. Or I can just talk over it. Nobody's all like, shh.
I don't know if anybody has that time, but
they are fun to holler at, though.
They are, yeah.
Okay. Yes, because I would talk through the whole
thing. Like we talk over them. Like we're not seriously sitting there like watching them. Yeah. Because I've watched them enough to know what happens. But
yeah, no, I had to watch these because I was like, I don't remember shit all. I needed to do it.
You do still have the movies on your shelf.
Yes.
Yeah. See, what you really needed was the extended editions that also have the theatrical cuts. So you could have cheated and watched the short version.
You know, I really should have checked these. There's actually a possibility they might include them.
If they're the ones that look like books, then no.
These ones?
Yeah, no. Those just have the extended.
Yeah. This is the color.
This is why I have 2 sets, because there's another one that has like one of each.
So this is the color of it, and you can tell the part that was in the sun was the side because it's a completely different color now. It's so horrible.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
So we didn't change your mind, but
didn't think we were going to.
No.
But
after watching the first movie, I really thought my mind was going to be changed overall, because it's like that really wasn't that bad. And then the other 2 movies came along, and I was like, nope. I was right.
So the Fellowship's not that bad, and the other 2 for you are nope.
Yeah, so. They really need to be. They are how all of the Hobbit movies are, and that's the thing that frustrates me about it.
No.
Oh
no.
Interesting.
Ugh.
I also should have calculated the hours I spent watching those Hobbit movies in this calculation of how much time I've spent on this.
Please never tell me. I don't want to know.
They were too much time.
They were awful.
Oh, I have a question. Okay. I know this is technically not part of this, but in the last movie, it's called The Battle of the 5 Armies.
Uh-huh.
I only ever counted 4 armies. What the fuck is the 5th army? I need to know.
The ghosts? So there's Gondor, Rohan, the
Wait, are you talking about?
No, we're talking about the Hobbits.
Oh, in the Hobbit
movie.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry. The 3rd Hobbit movie is called The Battle of the 5 Armies.
Yes.
And watching that movie, I could only count 4 armies. And I was with friends, and I also asked them, what was the 5th army? And nobody could come up with what the actual 5th army was. I'm going to
be honest, I don't even remember this battle.
And
is that where the head dwarf died?
Yeah, that's when the dude with the Lee Pace comes in, and he's all like majestic and shit.
Thorin, son of Thrain, king under the mountain, or something like that.
I'm pretty sure by the time we got to the battle, I was like 6 drinks deep. So I was just accepting what was happening to me at that juncture.
Oh no, I was completely sober and watching it in a movie theater.
We got toasted. I got you. People have asked. This wasn't that hard. So according to this, men, elves, dwarves, the orcs of Dol Guldur, and the orcs of Mount Gundabad.
So there were
two orc armies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I was like, it was the men, the dwarves, the orcs, and the elves, and I was just like, who's the fifth one? Like, what is happening? Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So multiple. Right. That makes sense. Yeah, orcs aren't exactly the cuddliest. They're not. Not really.
How are you going to tell the difference between the orcs? Like?
They look the same. I asked them, "You want ice cream cone?" Both of them say yes.
Yeah. That seems like a good place to finish,
Yeah.
Don't watch it.
Yeah. Don't you don't need the Hobbit movies. Even if you decide to watch Lord of the Rings, don't get the extended ones. Just live your life. You don't need this, and it's fine.
Yeah, the extended ones they're a good curiosity.
Yeah. It's 12 hours of your life. Like
it's
a lot.
You have to have a certain level. You have to clear a certain bar of enthusiasm for the extended edition.
Oh no, 100%. I think we watched the one movie on a weeknight, and I was like, "This is my whole evening." Like it was, Tracy. Yes. And I was like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
So, oh man.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here today. And talking about these with me.
Thanks for inviting us to this party you didn't want to attend. Sorry, not sorry. You had to watch them again.
Yeah. You're the reason we're here. So.
Well, that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. Until next time, you can follow along on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send an email to ohmyshelf@gmail.com. On the next episode, we'll be talking about Lord of War and Lost in Translation. Hope you'll be here to listen. Watching these, I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, you did this to yourself. This is your fault.
100%. Yeah. Nobody else looking at your DVD shelf, man.
Nope.
You could have just.
You could have just.
No. I was like, no. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Let's do this.